3 years prior, the Earth abruptly stepped into an age of spiritual energy resurgence. People started to delve into uncharted potentials, with some unlocking extraordinary powers. A young man experiences a stab of betrayal from Lin, someone he once trusted as an ally. He demands to know what's unfolding before him. With mockery dripping from her words, the girl looms over her defeated foe. Lin exudes overwhelming dominance as she readies herself to administer the final strike. Rin idly toyed with her blade while waiting for Yudo, who soon arrived, striding confidently through the air toward them atop the rooftop. Yudo delivers a chilling admission. He confesses to slaughtering Shinji's comrades. The man relishes the moment, dragging out the tension of the grim finale. Shinji grits his teeth, struggling to rise despite the odds. Blood mingles with dirt beneath him, yet his resolve remains unshaken. The suited man sneers at his futile attempts. Whether Shinji forgives him or not is irrelevant. His scheme is nearing its conclusion regardless. He strides forward and kicks Shinji off the edge of the building rooftop. Yudo bellows a cruel wish for Shinji's swift demise. As Shinji plummets, he locks eyes with a horde of ravenous monsters eagerly awaiting his descent into their gaping maws. Memories flood back of all the friends he had invited to join him that fateful day. He realizes it was his actions that led to their deaths. Lin turns her back without a second thought, as though the events unfolding are none of her concern. Her mind is already shifting focus to future objectives. In the moments before his death, Shinji swears vengeance against those who betrayed him. His final vow reverberates across the desolate battlefield. Shinji pledges retribution in his next life against those who wronged him. His voice quivers as the end draws near. His body slams lifelessly into the jaws of the beast below. Darkness swallows him whole, but deep within his fading consciousness, a peculiar light flickers. Before his eyes, a mysterious system manifests. Shinji hesitantly reaches out to touch the holographic interface, a tingling sensation coursing through his fingertips. Shinji awoke in the past, exactly 1 month before the calamity. The young man glanced around the familiar room in astonishment, struggling to comprehend what had transpired. He began analyzing the new opportunities before him. Memories from his previous life guided him on how to act more strategically this time. Shinji detected faint traces of spiritual energy lingering in the air. No one else seemed aware of the looming transformations. He immersed himself in studying data about plant and animal mutations, devising a plan to gather rare spiritual fruits before chaos erupted. Meteor showers and auroras emerged as precursors of change. Shinji meticulously documented each anomaly in his journal. The system presented him with a choice of developmental paths. Without hesitation, Shinji confirmed his decision, driven by the weight of past mistakes. He trained relentlessly to master control over flames. The initial sparks slowly evolved into steady, controlled bursts of fire. A purple crystal dissolved in his palm, infusing his body with surging energy. Shinji could feel his very physiology shifting. The realization dawned on him. He had been granted a second chance. His mind sharpened its focus on vengeance and the pursuit of ultimate power. He crushed the purple crystal in his hand, absorbing its full potential, ready to unleash it at this very moment. Shinji showcased the might of the fire element. Yellow flames swirled around him, a testament to his dramatic surge in strength. Suddenly, the phone rang. The caller ID read, Tamura Lin, the very same Lin who had betrayed him in the future. He answered, and through the phone, Lin demanded a hefty sum of money. Her voice was sharp with irritation, expecting an immediate transfer. Shinji cuts her off sharply, his icy tone sending a shiver through Rin, who is accustomed to compliance. Yudo stands nearby, sneering at the scene. The man casually holds the expensive bag Rin had demanded just moments ago. Rin slams the phone down in fury, leaving Shinji alone with his thoughts, her voice trembling with an uncharacteristic defiance. Yudo smirks and asks, "What's wrong? Did she upset her walking wallet?" Rin retorts that she doesn't understand what just happened. Lin and Yudo continue their drive, exchanging flirtatious banter as they go, while Shinji is already elsewhere, meticulously plotting his next moves. Shinji stands outside yet another hospital, searching for his girlfriend. He's already visited 3, unable to recall which one she's in. He reflects on past events. Mika had mentioned her father forcing her to take a dubious medication that fractured her ice core. Shinji swears to rectify the mistakes of the past. He vows to protect not only her, but also her spiritual energy at all costs. Mika lies in a hospital room, her body racked with an abnormally low temperature. The doctors are baffled by the erratic readings. Nurses scurry around the equipment, trying to stabilize her. Despite their efforts, Mika's temperature continues to plummet. Dr. Lee pores over the patient's medical records. He suspects her condition is linked to spiritual energy, while her father nearby pleads for her life, desperate for answers. Dr. Lee questions Mika's father about their trip to Iceland. The man grows anxious, connecting her illness to strange natural anomalies. Interrupting further discussion, Dr. Lee declares there's an excess of Yin energy. The girl requires strict adherence to treatment and proper care before it's too late. Mika's father thanks the doctor profusely, his gratitude spilling over, while Dr. Lee humbly insists it's simply part of his duty. Suddenly, the door bursts open and Shinji rushes into the room, urging them to hold off on the final diagnosis. Confusion spreads among the medical staff. If Dr. Lee has no students, then who could this intruder be? The Med brothers attempt to eject Shinji from the room, but he skillfully deflects their efforts, showcasing his deep understanding of spiritual processes. Mika's father listens in a panic as Shinji insists they halt the standard treatment immediately. Dr. Lee is stunned by how the boy knows about spiritual energy. He demands an explanation, but Shinji refuses to disclose the origins of his knowledge. Shinji asserts that his identity or sources don't matter. What's important now is waking the girl up. Surrounded by the medical team, Dr. Lee asks what solutions this young man might propose for treating the patient. With calm precision, Shinji offers a remedy to awaken Mika, his composure contrasting sharply with Dr. Lee's bewilderment. The list of ingredients includes rare herbs. The doctors listen intently, committing every detail to memory. Dr. Lee is astounded by the accuracy of the recipe. He questions how the young man could possibly know about Eastern medicine. His formula mirrors the doctor's own, but Shinji insists on adding Stardew. The mention of the mythical flower sparks heated debate. Dr. Lee dismisses the idea of using the legendary flower, stating it cannot be found anywhere in the world. The other medical staff are torn between disbelief and admiration. How could this boy, so knowledgeable, suggest something seemingly absurd after such a brilliant proposal? Mika's father pleads with them to find a solution. He offers any amount of money if it means acquiring the flower for his daughter. But the doctor refuses, explaining that this flower is so extraordinarily rare and potent that it cannot be purchased anywhere in the world. The doctor begins describing the Stardew flower. Blue petals and silver pollen illuminate the screen as he speaks. Dr. Lee recalls ancient texts, doubting the flower could have survived after the disappearance of spiritual energy. Mika's father turns to the young man, his voice trembling. "Does this mean my daughter will remain like this forever?" The young man responds firmly, telling him not to doubt. Shinji will find the right medicine, and Mika will leave the hospital unscathed. Dr. Lee asks if Shinji truly intends to obtain the flower, to which he replies without hesitation that this is exactly what he plans to do. In the medical ward, the younger doctor discusses the situation with Dr. Lee, speculating whether Shinji's success stems from sheer luck rather than actual knowledge. Dr. Lee's attitude shifts abruptly. After witnessing Shinji's familiarity with the flower, he begins questioning whether the proposed treatment might hold merit after all. Shinji asks the system to open an exchange point where he can trade his points for an item to locate the plant he needs. The system offers to exchange points for Stardew. Without a moment's hesitation, Shinji confirms the transaction. Shinji reveals the Stardew flower encased in a box. It cost him only 5 experience points. Everyone around is stunned by how quickly the young man obtained the legendary flower. And where did it even come from? He asks, "Do the doctors believe me now?" Dr. Lee apologizes and requests that Shinji use the flower to treat the girl. The young man enters her room and sees the girl lying unconscious. All the doctors and Mika's father have gathered around her bed. Shinji vows that in this life, he will not allow anyone to harm her or cause her pain ever again. He takes out the blue flower, its glow illuminating the entire room, while Shinji himself radiates with surging energy. When a magic flower is brought to the girl's body, it all begins to glow with blue energy and gradually return to life. Mika's temperature starts to rise. The nurses check the sensors in a panic, not believing their eyes. Mika moves her fingers weakly and opens her eyes. She recognizes him, and everyone around is happy that the girl has awakened. Shinji warns of the need for rest, his voice firm but relieved. Mika has fully recovered from the treatment. Her father thanks Shinji, barely holding back tears of relief. Dr. Lee relays the recommendations for further care. He asks the protagonist to stay and drink tea, but he refuses. In response to this refusal, Dr. Lee and Father Mika ask the protagonist to at least state his name so that they know what the hero's name is. He says goodbye to them and introduces himself at the end. His name is Fuji Shinji. After some time at home, the guy studies websites, trying to find one that describes all the stages of cultivation. The system screen displays information about the cultivation levels. Shinji studies the description of each stage. He remembers that in the world where he died, there was a war for spiritual energy. When Shinji died, he was only at level 3. We see a lot of drops and splashes of water, as well as a plant that grows on the surface of the water. Shinji meditates in an abandoned temple, contemplating his new fire abilities. Yellow flashes of energy surround his body. In this life, Shinji wants to devote himself entirely to cultivation and reach the highest level. Dr. Lee reports Mickey's case to an influential sponsor. The man in the suit orders the boy's potential to be tested. He explains to Mr. Liu that in the future, as he increases his energy, this guy will cultivate so much energy that he will be able to change the future. The man gives his henchwoman the task of monitoring the strength and capabilities of this young man. Red Hair talks to Dr. Lee about how, if this is true, then this guy would be an excellent discovery. The system records the transition to the second level. Control over spiritual energy is strengthened after the first cultivation. Colorful sparks of energy merge into a spiral. The air around vibrates, heralding a breakthrough in training. The guy thinks, why is the water so dirty if he hasn't washed himself for only one day? This makes him very sad. He jumps out of the water and runs around the room with bare feet, talking about how hungry he is and how he urgently needs to eat. Shinji thinks about going to a convenience store. The fatigue from training makes him eat 3 packs of noodles at once in the future. Yu watches him from the height of a street lamp. The man walks down the street and whistles a tune, not noticing anyone around him. She looks at his photo and checks with a stranger on the street. Finally, she realizes that he is her target. Yu throws some kind of purple disc right towards our protagonist, her strength showing that her skills are clearly above the level of a normal fighter. Shinji turns around to see a purple explosion right behind him, smoke appearing around him. Suddenly, a monster appears from this smoke, just like the one that ate him in the beginning and is preparing to bite him. Shinji shoots his gaze at the monster and realizes that the mutations have already begun at this time, and their child is in front of him. The monster roars at the protagonist, leaving behind a shock wave capable of rupturing eardrums. Shinji covers his face, realizing it's a dog, and its mouth stinks pretty bad. Yu watches Shinji struggle from cover. He dodges multiple attacks from the mutated dog and attacks back. Violet sparks of energy form a glow. The young man practices a blow that leaves cracks in the stone block. In response, the mutant hits him with his purple spiked tail, filled with fire and energy. It's hard to dodge, but Shinji manages to do it with great effort and stands in front of the dog, looking at its mutated body and glowing eyes. He tenses up, preparing for an attack from the monster. The guy thinks how to get close and defeat first the mutant and then the girl behind him. Suddenly, a crazy idea comes to his mind, connected with his new abilities. He jumps sharply upwards from the ground. He threatens to grill the dog, and his hand lights up in flames, foreshadowing a brutal blow to the mutant. Shinji uses the Flame Emperor Fist technique. The air explodes from the impact, incinerating the mutated creature. A fiery spiral swirls around his hand. The monster spits blood from the force and energy of the fiery strike. He looks at this in shock, not understanding what happened and how. How could this young man defeat her mutant? He pulls his fiery hand out of the monster's body, burning everything in its path and sending tongues of flame around. Shinji turns to the girl and says that she is weak for him. His hand is already starting to cool down a little. After the battle, Shinji feels a ravenous hunger. He hurries to the store, as he wanted from the very beginning of his journey. The spy girl doesn't understand how this boy was able to defeat the mutant beast with just one blow. She discusses how easy it is for him to activate the fire attribute, which has the strongest attack of all the elements. The girl runs up to the beast's body and can't believe her eyes. What happened here defies explanation. She sees the animal's broken tail and doesn't understand how this could have happened. Except maybe that time. That time, when the tail hit, our main character did not dodge, but rather used his body to repel the monster's attack, breaking its tail. The mutant's tail fragment is to be examined in the lab. You can't figure out how hard his body is to do that. Waking up early and looking in the mirror, Shinji feels pain all over his body. This means that he is far from perfect and will need to train more. Breaking news reports of an anomaly on Mount Shiranui. Temperatures reach critical levels, forcing evacuations. Shinji attributes the surge to the awakening of spiritual energy and decides to speed up preparations while the zone is accessible. He grabs his things and runs faster to the scene to gather as much strong spiritual energy as possible. Suddenly, he meets a girl on the street who calls out to him. It turns out to be that same Lin. She demands money, threatening to end the relationship, her voice shaking with rage when Shinji refuses to pay. Shinji leaves, leaving the girl alone. He advises her to go to the hospital instead of bothering him. Rin accuses Shinji of being selfish, saying that if he doesn't pay, she will truly disappear from his life forever. He shouts at her to get out and never show him her face again. His decision is final. Now nothing will distract him from his main goal. A group of hikers argue at the foot of a mountain. One of them insists on continuing on despite temperature warnings. The air trembles with heat, creating a mirage on the horizon. Shinji watches the situation, assessing the risks of climbing. Police are warning people about 81-degree heat right on the mountain, using their bodies to create barricades for those who are too curious. Tensions mount when the argument turns physical. People around try to separate the conflicting parties. One of them throws corn into the fire, and it immediately turns into popcorn due to the abnormally strong heat there. Suddenly, all the idiots realize that they weren't lied to, and it really is very hot there. The guy sits on top of the bus and understands that this place is really filled with strong fire energy. Pushes off the bus and flies straight instead of the anomaly. If he can suck in all the energy, he will reach a new level. He lands on his arm and the rest of his limbs right in the center of the anomaly. The police officers around are shocked by the boy's behavior and don't understand how to help him. The system detects an abnormal surge in power. The guy feels the energy penetrate every cell, transforming the body. Shinji concentrates the fiery energy in his palms. The purple waves of flame absorb the surrounding heat, strengthening his aura. The hot rocks beneath his feet melt into glassy patterns. Shinji smiles, realizing a new level of control. The crowd pulls each other away from the edge of the anomaly in panic. Her voice breaks from fear, but the young man continues the risky maneuver. Shinji turns and realizes that he has attracted too much attention, sucking out all the energy and heat from the area. Shinji hides in the shadows of the rocks, avoiding the attention of the crowd. His clothes are covered in ash, but his eyes are blazing with determination. Tourists discuss the unexplained cold snap. Their cameras captured only a fleeting shadow among the clouds of steam. A girl shows a video of a flickering silhouette. Viewers argue, a deity, an alien, or a hallucination from overheating. Reporters compare Shinji to legendary cultivators. Footage of Mount Shiranui is broadcast on all news channels. The red-haired man discusses with his servant the abilities of this guy that he showed today and how he definitely knocked out the mutant. He looks at his card and thinks that he should have been recruited into their organization faster. An influential man in a suit gives orders to his subordinates. Find Fuji Shinji. Sounds like a death sentence. He says that he must meet with him soon, and his subordinate Yu agrees with his order. Shinji shows progress, reaching the second level of cultivation. His aura pulses yellow, reflecting his increased control over energy. The system screen displays updated parameters. The guy studies the new possibilities, planning further training. The system marks the achievement of the level with a notification. The young man smiles, feeling a surge of strength and readiness for new challenges. Shinji experiments with creating a weapon out of spiritual energy. A blade with a scarlet glow around the edges forms in his hands. The system offers weapon evolution options. The guy chooses a sword, strengthening its blade with a concentration of the fire element. Satisfied with the result, the young man dissolves the weapon. His thoughts are already occupied with finding materials to improve the arsenal. Suddenly, he hears some noise and turns to the source of the noise. He asks who came to him in the middle of the night. The strangers in suits approach Shinji. Their leader asks a direct question, checking the data against the portrait on the tablet screen. Shinji clenches his fists warily as the man next to him explains the purpose of the visit, to discuss joining the Cultivators Association. The young man remembers something about that organization. His gaze slides over the hologram of the system, searching for information about the interlocutors. He remembers how in the past he and Miko were helped by a red-haired girl with strong abilities, capable of levitation. That time the conversation is interrupted by a message about a new task. Now Shinji is sure that there will be no help, and he will have to do everything himself. He asks how they knew about him. The red-haired man says he heard how he helped cure a girl. Mika is mentioned as a new member of the association. He thinks that it seems that these two people do not pose any particular danger to him. After some time, the three of them talk about whether Shinji is sure that he doesn't want to join them. He replies that no organization is suitable for him. The guy says that he needs to train himself first to fully restore his spiritual energy. An association representative explains the benefits of membership, backed up by examples of other cultivators growing rapidly. Shinji listens, arms crossed. Memories of his past life make him cautious, but the arguments are convincing. Statistics are shown on the screen. 3 years without progress versus a year with support. The guy notes the manipulative nature of the data. Now, they're both waiting for the outcome of the negotiations to adjust their further actions. Yu wants a guy to join the association. Shinji asks about the girl's age. Yu answers and asks a counter question. Why does he care about this? He doesn't want to offend her and call her a girl without talent. So he says out loud that she's a great girl. The representative of the association boasts about the exclusivity of the members. The young man notices the anxiety in the eyes of the assistant next to him. The red-haired man talks about the many privileges that will be available to him after joining. Suddenly, he gets a call and asks for a minute to talk on the phone. Some urgent news. An emergency report of a mutant interrupts the negotiations. Shinji sees panic in the eyes of the association representative. The data about the poisonous snake is displayed on the hologram. The man is shocked by the snake's level. It is level 2. Its element is poison. The association leader gives the order to lock down the area. His assistant relays the coordinates, avoiding eye contact with Shinji. The discussion is interrupted by the need for action. The young man remains in the hall, studying the map with the mutant's movement marks. He watches them go and thinks that in this life he should not repeat the many mistakes of the past. Strange thunderclaps without rain frighten the residents. The owner of the house calls Shinji in a panic, describing the anomaly as a curse. Lightning constantly strikes a certain spot behind the mountain. The young man analyzes the system data, discovering traces of a rare attribute of spiritual energy. Shinji agrees to help. Before leaving, he checks the crystal supply, preparing to encounter an unknown phenomenon. Koto shows Shinji security footage of lightning forming ancient symbols on the mountainside. The young man associates the anomaly with the awakening of the elements. His fingers quickly scroll through the system hologram, comparing the data with the legends. Shinji warns of danger. The man points out cases of cultivators dying while trying to harness lightning. Shinji ignores the warnings. His decision is firm: to obtain the legendary attribute to increase his power. The system confirms the ability to obtain the lightning attribute. Shinji activates the energy absorption mode, tuning into the resonance. The boys argue about the feasibility of the mission. Their dialogue is interrupted when the ground beneath their feet begins to vibrate from the charges. We see two guys and a woman's shoe, who tells them that today is their first mission. One of the guys jumps up and asks Mrs. Kaori what they're going to do and where they're going. Kaori discusses tactics with the boys. The girl points to the area of maximum energy concentration marked on the map. The world continues to adapt to the revived spiritual energy. Shinji studies the system's new capabilities, noting his own abilities have grown. He sees bursts of energy, but the young man ignores them, focusing on analyzing the energy patterns. The achievements are marked by the system, but Shinji is already setting his next goal: mastering rare attributes. The system warns of the risks of absorbing lightning energy. Shinji confirms the action despite the double load. The hologram demonstrates the lightning flash technique. The guy feels a tingling sensation in his fingertips from the clots of energy. Acquiring the skill is accompanied by a flash of blue light. Shinji smiles, appreciating the potential of the new skill. Shinji watches the process, noting the instability of the energy flows. The air smells of ozone, and his hair stands on end. Meanwhile, we see Kaori and the two boys standing with a powerful burst of lightning energy right in front of them. Kaori demonstrates a thermos for collecting energy. Her assistant questions the safety of the device, examining cracks in the casing. The tension mounts as Kaori demands the device be handed over. Her voice trembles, but her hands remain calm, holding the device. She stands up and holds the device straight out towards the energy, and it quickly begins to enter the capsule. Flashes of lightning, energy, and light form around them. But that's not all. There's still a lot of energy to absorb later. The guys support their commander, surprised at how deftly and quickly she absorbs all this energy. The thermos cracks, unable to withstand the load. Kaori retreats in panic, and her assistant freezes, eyes wide. She doesn't understand how the spiritual collector couldn't contain all the energy. This is how powerful all this lightning is. One of the guys jumps on Kaori to push her away from the massive explosion that happened right in front of her. The system detects an abnormal power surge. Lightning strikes around have become more powerful and more frequent. With the energy out of control, the group evacuates, leaving the broken equipment right there. Suddenly, one of them notices something moving in the grass and looks there, not expecting to see anyone but them. They notice a civilian in this dangerous territory and are left confused. What is he doing here? This guy turns out to be our main character Shinji, and Kaori screams at him to leave the area, but the boy remains in place. Her words are lost in the roar of thunder, and her gestures express despair and fear. The young man does not react to the threats. His gaze is fixed on the hologram, showing the level of energy absorbed. The entire group watches in amazement as this stranger strives towards this energy that just nearly killed them with one explosion. At this time, Shinji runs straight into the epicenter of lightning, smiling at the fact that he will soon receive a new attribute and a lot of experience to gain a new level of power. Kaori watches in shock as Shinji harnesses the lightning. Her assistant drops the device in disbelief. The energy cocoon around the boy pulses with a bright blue light. The air fills with static, causing his hair to move. The system completes its analysis. The lightning attack has been successfully integrated. Shinji takes the first step towards a new level of power. Shinji vows to become invincible, his shadow cast by lightning appearing gigantic against the night sky. The system hologram flashes green. The goal has been achieved. Shinji opens his mouth, and lightning passes through it, giving him new powers. He rises to the heavens, engulfed by lightning and receiving no harm from it to his body. He feels new strength and looks at his hands, engulfed in energy and electricity. Now he has become stronger. The system suggests combining two types of spiritual energy to attack. His fingers quickly scroll through the hologram with calculations, choosing the optimal balance. He agrees, and two different energies enter him, releasing new fighting style techniques and new capabilities of our protagonist's spiritual power. Shinji analyzes the anomaly through the system. The data confirms that it is a legendary attribute that can change the balance of power. After some time, the red-hair man's men discover a giant mutant snake writhing among the rocks. Its scales emit a poisonous glow, mixing with rainbow flashes of spiritual energy. Yu hands the boys a jade shard. The artifact emits a soft light, creating a protective field around the boy. The guy tests the ball's reaction to toxic fumes. The green barrier neutralizes some of the toxins, confirming its effectiveness. Before the mission begins, the group synchronizes their equipment. Yu masks his aura, preparing for a stealthy approach. She orders them to begin the mission, and they are ready to find and kill this snake. The whole team enters through the gates into some hangar. It's dark all around, and you can't see anything at all. However, very soon you notices the red glow of eyes in the darkness and depths of the hangar. Someone screams to turn around, but it's too late. A powerful blow with a green aura knocks the entire team off their feet. The snake was revealed in all its glory, a green scaly creature with red eyes, showing off its fangs for everyone in the room. Both guys throw some spears straight at the snake, thinking that this will help them resist it. Suddenly, the snake is completely covered in ice and freezes in the middle of the room in a strange pose. The guys are happy. I think they caught this viper and are ready to just finish her off. She's here now, but Yu is no pushover and understand that everything is bad. She shouts for the rest of the group to run and runs away from the snake herself. The snake effortlessly frees itself from the ice, releasing its green poison into everyone around it. By a lucky chance, this liquid and steam immediately hits our guys, knocking their legs out of their wits and causing them to quickly fall asleep on the floor. The girl urgently tries to contact headquarters and wants to tell them something about the green snake. But she doesn't have time to finish speaking, falling asleep, just like her comrades, because it's unlikely that you can get rid of respiratory poison with just your hands. In the last page of this chapter, we see a snake coiled around the girl's body, its tongue sticking out, ready to devour Yu's body. The action shifts to night near some trailer. In it, someone is explaining the situation to Shinji. Inside it, the red-haired man is talking to Shinji. I show him the monitor screen and say that he is the only one who can help them. Chairman Liu mentions the rare fire attribute that Shinji has awakened, his words revealing his covert observation of the youth's actions. He mentions a green snake that has a poison attribute that it can use to spray around, and that took out a couple of his men back in the hangar. Shinji is wary of the surveillance and demands that the monitoring stop as a condition for agreeing to the mission. Liu apologizes, citing safety concerns, and relief flashes in his eyes as Shinji accepts the mission. He also apologizes for sending the mutant dog back then, and how surprised he was that Shinji was able to defeat it with ease. Shinji learns of the provocation with the mutant dog. His voice sounds cold, but his posture remains relaxed, demonstrating control. He says that this situation was humiliating for them, as people who are involved in serious business. Liu tries to smooth over the conflict by offering support. The young man refuses help, confident in his own abilities. On the table between them lies a map of the plant. Shinji marks the snake's area of activity, ignoring his interlocutor's nervous glances. Liu insists on reinforcements. Shinji cuts him off abruptly, showing disdain for the resources being offered. Shinji leaves the office without looking back, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallway, emphasizing the finality of his decision. Next, we move on to the hangar and you locked in it, who barely opens her eyes, slowly dying from the poison. A giant snake is devouring cultivators in an attempt to evolve. Its scales emit a poisonous green glow, filling the workshop with a toxic fog. Yu analyzes attack patterns across the system. The data shows a critical threat level for the entire region. Yu panics, relaying the coordinates of the weak points. Her voice breaks as the snake abruptly changes its trajectory. She attacks her, directly releasing more green, poisonous mist. Yu stands in front of her in shock and doesn't know what to do. But at the last second, she activates her ice weapon right on her hand and jumps towards the snake, intending to hit it quickly and accurately. And she manages to hit the snake in the area near the head, releasing the mutant snake's purple blood out. Well, before I can hit the target completely, the icy shard of her hand breaks. She opens her eyes wide and is surprised. Now nothing can help her anymore. The snake quickly strikes the girl, and she flies to the ground, probably with several broken bones. She watches the snake evolve in despair. Yu drops the device as the monster begins to absorb spiritual energy from the walls. The system warns of overload. The girl ignores the signal, focusing on finding the core of the creature. Shinji recognizes the abandoned factory. The memory of unpaid wages brings an ironic smile, but does not distract from the goal. The girl recognizes him and is shocked at how he ended up there and who sent him to help them. He finds the team members locked up, their faces pale and their equipment scattered in chaos, indicating a mission failure. The guy activates the attribute, lighting up the room. The shadows of the snake on the walls seem larger than the threat itself. The wounded cultivator begs Shinji to flee, believing that he cannot defeat an opponent like this snake. The boy ignores the warning, slowly approaching the source of the roar. Nothing frightens him. In front of him stands a snake that has already evolved, and he stands before it without a single hint of fear on his face. The snake strikes, destroying the supports. Shinji thinks to parry the blow, leaving a charred mark on the enemy's scales. Yu screams at him to back off, but the boy concentrates energy in his palms. The air crackles with static, and the shadows on the walls distort under the influence of the elements. Lightning bolts of energy begin to pulse around his body. The air fills with the smell of ozone, mixing with toxic fumes. Shinji faces the attack in a darkened area. The lightning surrounding his body flares brighter, dispersing the clouds of poisonous mist. The lightning strike burns through the snake's scales, exposing a weak spot. Shinji reacts instantly, sending a second bolt straight to the target. The mutant snake wriggles, trying to hide in the crack. Its movements become chaotic, and its poisonous glow fades under the onslaught of attacks. Shinji blocks the path by creating a fire trap. The flames merge with lightning to form a deadly spiral around the enemy. Yu watches in shock as the monster loses control. Her fingers tighten around the barrier amulet, but she no longer needs help. He tells the girl not to worry about the snake running away somewhere else and takes hold of the hilt of the sword behind his back. Shinji takes it out and holds it out in front of him, extending his hands towards it and imbuing the weapon with lightning and fire energy. He looks at his target with fury, and we see lightning shooting out of his fiery eyes. His powers are becoming more and more powerful. Shinji displays two attributes at once. Waves of fire and lightning dance around him, confirming his incredible progress. With one blow, he finished off the snake, and now all that was left for him to do was to move on, far away from here. Yu drops the measuring device. Her voice trembles. Even the association doesn't have one like that. The assistant silently records the data, avoiding direct eye contact. The young man calmly deactivates the skills. Thoughts about future missions are already crowding out the current victory. The association is analyzing data on Shinji. The holograms show abnormal energy spikes that don't fit into standard graphs. Lu looks over the report, pinching the bridge of his nose. His assistant whispers if he joins the rivals, but the sentence remains unfinished. A recording of the battle appears on the screen. The silence in the room is broken only by the hum of the servers. At the meeting, they decide to stop spying on Shinji. Lu insists he will come himself when he is ready. Yu, a junior agent, is given the task of making contact. Lu says that she should become this boy's girlfriend. The system studies data on the awakening of spiritual energy. The system identifies zones of anomalies where new control methods are planned to be tested. Their goal is to understand the patterns of energy distribution. Many also talk about the need to notify residents about the appearance of energy. But on the other hand, there are opinions that this cannot be done. After all, there's a risk of sowing panic among all residents. The debate continues, with one side saying that warning could have avoided many casualties. But a police officer says the incident at the factory was successfully resolved without any public notification. The red-haired man looks at all this and is shocked by how adults cannot agree among themselves, even though he understands that the situation is difficult. He shouts loudly that everyone should be silent, and everyone becomes silent, waiting for what the master will say. Lu leads a meeting discussing the implications of revealing information about spiritual energy. His voice is tense, but confident. Shinji is mentioned as a key participant in the events. Those present argue about the balance between safety and panic of the population. The suggestion to use anomalous zones for testing evokes mixed reactions. The guy writes down the arguments, avoiding direct comments. The map shows energy awakening points. Lu suggests turning them into research sites, observing the public's reaction. The man analyzes risks through the system. The data shows a potential increase in conflicts, but the young man remains neutral. Many support the idea, noting the possibility of collecting data, and the assistant silently adjusts the parameters of the hologram. Lu insists on Shinji's inclusion in the association. The debate over his rank divides the meeting into two camps. Shinji mentions the awakening of two attributes, shocking his opponents. Yudo is in the corner, whispering to Rin, he's more dangerous than he looks. The decision to conduct the test is unanimous. Lu hides a smile, anticipating new possibilities. Shinji's test is designed as a test of skills. The conditions include areas with unstable energy and interaction with newcomers. The young man looks over the requirements, frowning skeptically. The system highlights the weak points in the plan, but he decides to participate. Lu smiles and pretends that they themselves chose Shinji to be included in the organization. His plan went as planned. Shinji wakes up early in the morning and hears some noise that distracts him from sleep. He is confronted with the theft of food. His face remains impassive, but the energy around him pulses slightly, betraying his irritation. Now he goes and thinks that he is already poor, and now a thief in his house can steal the last thing he has. He opens the door and prepares to beat this thief who dared to climb into his beggarly apartment. His face is full of rage. Yu appears at Shinji's house under the guise of cooperation, her calm tone contrasting with her tense posture. Shinji demands an explanation. He thinks she was sent again because she was spying on him and is furious. The girl reveals that she was sent to live with him, but hides the association's true motives. Lu hands Shinji the test requirements. Shinji flips through the documents, noting discrepancies between the stated goals and the actual tasks. Mika is mentioned as a participant. Shinji's attitude changes abruptly, agreeing to the test. His gaze becomes colder. Yu notices the change in behavior. Her fingers quickly type out a message while the boy studies the map of the location. The test details include low energy zones. Shinji doubts their safety, but hides his thoughts behind a mask of indifference. Mika appears on the list of participants. The young man involuntarily clenches his fist, remembering her connection with the association. He notices his reaction. Her questions remain unanswered, but she writes down her observations for the report. The test participants gather in the training area. Lu glances at everyone. His presence was the deciding factor for participation. The testing program is interrupted by an announcement of impending cataclysms. The man watches as excitement engulfs the group, but he remains unperturbed. The Lord explains to everyone that today he will introduce X to one of the most powerful cultivators so that he will become their captain. Kaori wonders where he went. She indulges in memories from the past. She remembers her conversation with one guy and how he disappeared in lightning. Her interlocutor says that it is impossible. Suddenly, a guy with tattoos on his arms distracts her and asks what she is thinking about. Kaori makes a warning gesture to Yoshii, but he demonstratively turns away. She says that she is waiting for the captain and she is interested in what he is like. Yoshii stretches his arms in preparation for meeting the captain. His mocking comments about the rich kid make some of the crew laugh. He raises the spirit of the fighting team and says that he will show the new captain who is strong and cool here. The team's composition is displayed on a hologram. The system highlights the profile of Yoshii, a former criminal with a wind attribute and a tendency toward rebellion. Shinji studies the weaknesses of his subordinates, focusing on tactics to neutralize threats without direct conflict. Finally, they arrive, and the red-haired man introduces all the cadets to their new captain. Shinji stops a meter away from everyone. Purple sparks of energy extinguish the gusts of wind, creating a zone of silence around them. Mika looks at him and thinks that this is most likely the same guy who helped her in the hospital. Kaori realizes that it is he, the same guy who disappeared in the lightning back then. She realizes that he is a truly powerful cultivator. Lu continues to introduce him, but suddenly someone from the crowd starts shouting, distracting everyone from the ceremony. The red-haired gentleman realizes that it is Yoshi shouting and asks, "What is the problem?" Yoshii attacks first. He asks if the master is confident in this man's abilities, since he looks very weak and no one will listen to him. Our main character smiles and asks if Yoshi wants to test him, to which he says that of course he would like to test the abilities of this weakling. Shinji ignores the taunts about his power level, his gaze cold and his hands clenched into fists, ready to answer the challenge. Yoshii provokes Shinji by waving his arms, his face contorted in a grimace of aggression, his voice drowning out the sound of the wind. The boy remains calm, assessing his opponent's movements. Lightning bolts of energy flicker faintly at his fingertips. The conflict scene is cut short by a sharp gust of wind. The group freezes, waiting for the captain's reaction. The red-haired gentleman stops Yoshi by grabbing his fist at the last second before contact with Shinji. He says that Yoshi is going to defend the honor and people of the association later. If not, then why does he hit the new captain? He backs away and makes excuses about how he wanted the new captain to show his abilities. The association members debate Shinji's competence. Some admire his feat with the snake. Others call it luck. Lu interrupts the discussion with a reminder of discipline. His authoritative tone silences the room. He talks about how the young captain saved you by defeating a giant snake single-handedly. Everyone is shocked and doesn't believe the battle. The briefing begins with a warning of mortal danger. Kaori points to a hologram of the spiked beast. Shinji studies the combat tactics, noting the creature's weak points. His fingers glide over the system's interface, adjusting his strategy. The group whispers nervously. Yoshii grins, ignoring the safety rules. The team arrives at an area with abnormal energy. Shinji scans the area, but finds no trace of the monster. Yoshii insists on immediate action, his impatience contrasting with the caution of the other participants. The guy notices strange vibrations underground. The system records hidden energy impulses. Mika looks around anxiously, feeling a growing threat. Something is wrong around her, but she doesn't understand what exactly. The energy around the trunk pulses brighter with each step the rebel takes. Everything around shines, and energy flows from everywhere. Shinji forbids approaching the ancient tree. His voice sounds harsh, but Yoshii demonstratively ignores the order. Yoshii makes fun of Shinji's caution, and his jokes about a walking tree elicit nervous laughter from some of the crew. The boy ignores the provocations, giving clear orders. Lightning bolts of energy form a barrier around the group. Yoshi was sent to look for traces of the monster, her fingers trembling as she touched the tree bark. Yoshi-ai is preoccupied with the thought of leveling up. His hands touch the trunk, trying to absorb the energy of the tree. The branches suddenly move, dropping leaves. Shinji turns around abruptly, feeling an ancient power awakening. Yoshi gets excited thinking about the girls that will shine for him after leveling up with this tree. They sit around this tree and try so hard to absorb all this energy. Mika asks Shinji about the safety of the team. Her voice trembles, but the boy answers confidently, hiding the tension. Shinji continues his risky experiment with the tree. The young man watches him, ready to intervene at any moment. Shinji listens to reproaches about the events on the mountain. His interlocutor is irritated, but the young man remains calm, avoiding direct conflict. Lightning bolts of energy are barely noticeable around his hands, betraying the tension within. The apology sounds formal, but his gaze remains cold and distant. The conversation is cut short by system beep. Shinji uses this as an excuse to leave the conversation, leaving his opponent confused. The training area is filled with thick spiritual energy. Shinji encourages the team to use resources, but he himself remains on the sidelines. The girl mocks his passivity. The guy ignores the provocations, analyzing the energy flows through the system interface. Mika joins the group, her ice attribute creating a contrast with the heat of the surrounding elements. The tree suddenly comes to life, grabbing the team member with its branches. Cries for help echo through the forest, mixing with the sound of branches breaking. Shinji reacts instantly, sending lightning bolts into the base of the tree. The sparks burn through the bark, causing the tree to loosen its grip. Yoshi-ai freezes in indecision, his bravado disappearing in the face of a real threat. A wounded participant crawls to safety, his face contorted with fear, his clothes torn, and his hands shaking with adrenaline. Yoshi creates a wind barrier, cutting off the ancient monster's path. Kaori throws a healing amulet, stabilizing the victim's condition. Yoshi-ai finally enters the fight, but his wind attacks only slow the enemy down slightly. One of the group members tells Yoshi to be careful and look around, but he doesn't have time and is suddenly cut by a branch. Lu's warning becomes reality. The tree's branches transform into thorny tentacles, attacking the group from all sides. Yoshi-ai is pinned to the ground, his confidence shattered, eyes wide as the spike heads for his chest. Shinji intercepts the attack, sacrificing his protective barrier. Lightning envelopes the enemy, forcing them to retreat deeper into the forest. Yoshi sits up and hisses angrily that it's him again. It's that nasty Shinji in front of him. Shinji gives the order to retreat. His voice is firm, because behind him are the people he protects. The rescued fighter trembles, clinging to Shinji's sleeve, gratitude in his eyes mixed with the remnants of horror. His voice is firm, drowning out the roar of the monster. To betray one's own is an eternal shame. Yoshi-ai, overwhelmed by the captain's strength, falls silent for the first time. Waves of energy shake the ground, but the group unites. The young man's determination becomes a shield for everyone. Shinji steps in front of the oncoming threat, protecting his comrades. Lightning and flames weave around his hands, creating a glowing barrier. The young man nods silently, looking away to the smoke on the horizon. Purple sparks fly into the tree, protecting the team above all else. A group member caught in a tree shouts words of gratitude to the team captain. Kaori screams as the ancient tree awakens, causing branches to snap, revealing thorny tentacles. Shinji rushes forward, leaving a trail of fire behind him. Yoshi-ai, overcoming his fear, follows him, clutching the blades of wind. The ground rises in waves. The team freezes, realizing that the battle has only just begun. It turns out to be a level 3 monster that rose from the ground and is essentially a living tree. The whole team is in shock. They didn't expect to see him here. especially to run into him so quickly. Lu's words stopped the newcomer in their tracks with an icy tone. A coward will not survive in the cultivation world. A heavy silence hangs in the hall. Shinji breaks the silence, striding toward the center. Fear is not weakness. Mindless courage is death. His words balance between challenge and encouragement. Yoshi-ai clenches his fists, thinking for the first time about the cost of his apparent fearlessness. Edie dodges the tree monster's attack and jumps forward to attack it the next second. But the tree saw this desire and immediately raised its hands to strike back. This blow will kill our hero if it hits. During the strike, the trees also send a bunch of their sharp branches into our protagonist Shinji's body. The main character activates his fire barrier, incinerating all the branches that were directed at him. The tree monster is in shock. The fiery energy of the protagonist is crawling along his hand, trying to saw him off completely. The next second, Cindy activates lightning on his hands, and now his technique has two energies. He strikes his technique into the back of the fleeing ancient monster, who was not prepared for such a strong opponent. Shinji's lightning strike burns through the ancient tree, leaving a smoking crater in its wake. Yoshi-ai falls to his knees, not believing his eyes. How is this possible? He whispers, looking at the gigantic wreckage. Kori frantically writes down the data, her fingers shaking. The attack has exceeded all the system's predictions. Shinji analyzes the battle plan by the fire. The firelight highlights the weariness on his face, hidden behind a mask of determination. Mika looks at him in silent admiration. Her gaze speaks louder than words. He is now their true leader. In the data center, many people who watch the fight analyze Shinji's strength and are shocked by it. Lu slams his slammer on the table, cutting off the argument. Shinji has proven his right to lead you. The room falls silent. The earth suddenly shakes. Holograms turn scarlet as spiritual energy explodes out of control across the world. You burst in with a report. Awakening is everywhere. Shinji rises. His silhouette on the wall seems gigantic. Thorn Beast displays an attribute of an ancient tree. Shinji analyzes the energy patterns, noting a connection to the plant element. Mika mentions past research, confirming the boy's suspicions. Her cold attribute weakly reacts to the green glow around the trunk. The group prepares for a new phase of the battle, adjusting tactics under the captain's guidance. Ice energy bubbles out from the crack. Mika concentrates the attribute, forming crystals around her hands as Shinji watches. The boy regulates the flow of energy through the system, preventing overload. Yoshi-ai shows interest for the first time, hiding his envy behind a mask of indifference. Mika's progress is impressive to the team. Her level is rapidly increasing, confirming the effectiveness of the captain's method. Shinji announces that they will train together. His plan involves using ice anomalies to enhance Mickey's attribute. Yoshi-ai reluctantly joins in, realizing the benefits of teamwork. The wind around his hands faintly resonates with a cold energy. The group celebrates Mika's breakthrough. Toasts are given to her, but all eyes can't help but turn to Shinji, the true architect of the success. Yoshi-ai bows his head to the captain, his words filled with genuine remorse, though his voice trembles with embarrassment. Shinji accepts the apology, emphasizing the importance of unity. Mika nods in approval, her trust in the boy growing. An alarm interrupts the moment. The team instantly mobilizes, following new instructions. The evacuation order catches the group off guard. Shinji scans the area, detecting synchronization of energy with the fighter's attributes. The young man makes the risky decision to stay late. His fingers quickly scroll through the hologram, calculating the optimal time to train. Yoshi-ai and Mika exchange glances, ready to support the captain despite the danger. An alien group of cultivators threatens Shinji. Their leader scoffs, unaware of his opponent's strength. Yoshi-ai steps forward, defending the captain's honor, eddies of wind swirling around his fists in warning. The soldier stops the conflict with a gesture. His machine gun is aimed at the neck, forcing the intruders to retreat without a word. Yoshi-ai takes over the perimeter guard. His behavior changes dramatically. He is now a disciplined fighter. The tension eases as the enemies leave. Shinji orders everyone around him to stop. The military discusses the consequences of the restoration of spiritual energy. The chaos in the ranks highlights their unpreparedness for global changes. The captain interrupts the argument, focusing on the mutant dog's escape. His voice is harsh, cutting off any objections. Staff are ordered to increase border surveillance. The energy surge threatens stability, requiring immediate action. The discussion moves to the tactical plane. The commander distributes roles, highlighting key points for controlling the situation. The captain interrupts the argument, focusing on the mutant dog's escape. His voice is harsh, cutting off any objections. Kawasaki is given the task of neutralizing the mutant creature. His determination leaves no doubt. Failure is excluded. The rest of the group moves to the edge of the affected area. Spiritual energy complicates the task, making every step risky. Kawasaki nods, clenching his fists. He is now the central link in this dangerous operation. The commander emphasizes the urgency of the evacuation. Delay could lead to irreversible consequences for civilians. Kawasaki is given a strict deadline until the next morning. The pressure from the command reaches its limit. The evacuation of the eastern sector is in full swing. No one knows when the mutant dog will appear, which increases anxiety. A sudden noise makes the patrol freeze. The soldiers exchange glances, ready to react immediately. An alarm breaks the silence. The group goes into full combat readiness, weapons at the ready. The captain reminds his subordinates to be careful. The world filled with spiritual energy has become unpredictable and deadly. The soldier confirms the order, demonstrating iron discipline. This is their main weapon in conditions of chaos. The captain nods approvingly. Unity and order are the only way to confront threats. Mika is instructed not to relax after training. Her progress directly affects the team's chances of survival. The captain introduces Kawasaki as an old classmate. The colleagues are surprised by the unexpected connection between the commanders. The dialogue takes on a humorous tone, but the subtext remains serious. Past relationships may impact the current mission. The remaining soldiers tactfully retreat, giving their commanders space. Uncertainties hang in the air, but questions remain unanswered. Kawasaki insists on his significant role in the captain's life. His words cause a mixture of bewilderment and curiosity among those around him. The team quickly leaves the room, leaving the two alone. The dynamics of their relationship remain a mystery, complicating their interactions. Shinji asks how Kawasaki rose to such a high position and how he was entrusted with promoting military affairs. The discussion links the mutant dog's escape to the awakening of spiritual energy. Its presence in the city is a direct threat. The captain reveals the details of the operation, keeping it secret. Information is limited to avoid panic among the population. Shinji wonders if the mutant dog you sent him and the mutant dog that caused the evacuation are connected. The civilian evacuation is complete. Captain Kawasaki gives the order to prepare for a trap for the mutant dog. The military takes up positions, camouflaging the traps. This moment will test their real capabilities in the new conditions. The captain mentions Shinji, foreseeing his future difficulties. The young man will face trials that will temper his character. Hayakawa is tasked with escorting Shinji to a safe zone, and his role in the operation becomes key to protecting the rookie. The unknown commander demands unquestioning obedience. His authority is called into question due to his connection to Kawasaki. The soldiers notice that all the new arrivals are armed. Their spiritual energy level indicates experience. Most have reached the first stage. The commander analyzes the enemy forces. The group's capabilities are impressive, but not frightening. His own team is ready for confrontation. The dialogue breaks off mid-sentence. Mistrust between the parties creates the risk of a sudden conflict at the most inopportune moment. An alarm signal warns of the mutant dog's presence. Its location remains a mystery, making the search more difficult. The military is switching to emergency response mode. Every second of delay increases the threat to the city. Captain Kawasaki mobilizes resources to try to predict the creature's route. His experience becomes the trump card in this game. The appearance of the mutant dog is suppressed by harsh measures. Order is restored, but anxiety does not disappear. The bullets eat into the mutant dog's skin, but she doesn't feel them. For her, it's just like a tickle. She opens her mouth and releases purple fire with a roar, burning everything around. The flames spread across the entire street, destroying people's homes, cars, and much more. The order to stop the action comes too late. The mutant dog has already activated a dangerous mechanism. The military is trying to minimize the damage by blocking the area of destruction. Their actions resemble a desperate race against time. The captain orders the evacuation of the remaining civilians. Risking lives for the sake of the operation is an unacceptable luxury. Shinji watches the events unfold, analyzing the military's tactics. This knowledge will be useful to him in future clashes. The operation has been suspended. It will be continued after the forces have been regrouped and the mistakes made have been analyzed. Captain Kawasaki studies the reports, planning his next move. The mutant dog is still at large, but its days are numbered. A mutant dog evolves, threatening the entire city. A special squad is ordered to enter the battle to protect civilians. The team's determination leaves no room for fear. Each fighter realizes that hundreds of lives depend on their actions. Captain Kawasaki leads the group forward, ignoring the risks. His aura of confidence makes the soldiers forget their doubts. The energy waves from the fight shake the ground, making the fight a test of strategy as well as strength. Thoughts of death pierce the fighter's mind. His hands tremble, but it is too late to retreat. Fate is being decided here and now. The cries of his comrades bring him back to reality. It's time to act, not to think about the end. The surrounding chaos recedes. The character concentrates on a single goal, to survive at any cost. The gaze is directed to the sky, as if searching for an answer. Fear mixes with rage, giving birth to unexpected determination. Suddenly, Shinji bursts in and activates his lightning technique, protecting Kawasaki from the mutant dog's attack. The threat sounds like a death sentence. The enemy underestimated Shinji's connection to those he protects. The young cultivator steps forward, his lightning attribute activating spontaneously. The air fills with static. The enemy is thrown back dozens of meters. Shinji doesn't waste words. His actions speak for themselves. Kawasaki, in shock, asks Shinji if he is also a cultivator, but right now it doesn't matter at all. Discussions are put on hold to eliminate the threat first. Shinji focuses on the mutant, ignoring the questions. One hit, and the 4th level creature loses stability. The attack power exceeds all expectations of the team. Captain Kawasaki hides his surprise, but his eyes betray admiration. Such abilities are game changers. Preparations for the massacre of the mutant are in full swing. Shinji demonstrates a composure that is inaccessible to newcomers. The attempt to escape is stopped instantly. Lightning strikes the target, leaving behind a smoking crater. The observers whisper about the incredible power of the attribute. Shinji remains unperturbed, as if this is just a warm-up. The mutant dog is defeated, but the battle is not over. The cultivator scans the area for hidden threats. His reputation is growing before our eyes. Now, even the skeptics admit that he is not just an upstart, but a real leader. But the dog, with its body pierced and not even with half its strength, still directs its gaze towards our main hero. She jumps up and tries to reach Cindy's paws, but he remains calm because he knows what will happen in the next few seconds. He takes the knife and mixes their energies to get maximum strength and his abilities. Shinji displays a frightening level of strength despite his recent restoration of spiritual energy. His abilities surpass even military equipment, shocking those around him. Lightning and flames intertwine around his hands, creating a destructive symbiosis. Witnesses whisper about the boy's capabilities if he continues to absorb energy. Captain Kawasaki watches the attack with a mixture of pride and anxiety. Such power could be both a salvation and a threat to everyone. The allies gasp in admiration. The lightning attribute burns through steel, proving that Shinji is not limited by the standard boundaries of cultivation. The wounded soldier marvels at Shinji's hidden talents. His questions remain unanswered as the young man focuses on completing the mission. Kawasaki takes charge of clearing the area. His orders sound harsh, but his eyes show respect for his partner's abilities. Shinji ignores the praise, checking on the team's condition. Even victory doesn't change the need to take care of your allies. The medic tries to stop the young man, but he waves him off. Minor wounds are the price to pay for saving dozens of lives. The stranger inquires about Kawasaki's connection with Shinji. The commander emphasizes their absolute trust, hiding the details of their cooperation. The discussion turns to the young man's talents. The military invites him to join, but he is refused. He is already connected to the association. Kawasaki mentions Liu Jinghu, causing mixed reactions. His intention to investigate sounds like a veiled threat. The dialogue is interrupted by new information about the mutant dog. Shinji remains the center of attention, although he himself prefers to stay in the shadows. Casual conversation masks the tension. Shinji forgets about breakfast, immersed in the aftermath of the night's operation. The news about the commander's daughter is puzzling. The young man did not expect that his actions would attract such high-ranking attention. Yu advises caution. The girl's persistence could lead to unwanted political complications. Shinji brushes off the warnings. He is only interested in developing power, not in the intrigues of the elite. Someone calls our young man from a Kawasaki number. He is glad that his old friend decided to call him just to talk. Fuma Natsuiai introduces himself as Kawasaki's superior. Shinji is immediately attracted to his proposal for a fire energy zone. The young man hides his interest, but the experienced commander notices the glint in his eyes. The promise of increased strength is too tempting. Yu watches the dialogue silently. She understands that Shinji has already made his decision, despite the risks. Shinji analyzes the new data, planning his next step. His path to power is full of obstacles, but each step brings him closer to his goal. The story begins with the discovery of a fireball on a construction site. Workers mistook it for an evil spirit and called an exorcist, but the ritual only made the flames worse. The military sealed off the area, but the fire continued to grow. The fire engulfed the area, making it unsuitable for any operations. With the restoration of spiritual energy, the situation worsened. Evacuation of residents became the only way to avoid casualties. Shinji studies the reports, trying to find a connection between the anomaly and the global changes. His intuition tells him that this is not a coincidence. Captain Kawasaki is ordered to increase patrols. The fire could be a harbinger of more serious threats. Shinji asks if the fire is still spreading, and the purple-haired girl confirms it. This girl is Fua. The discussion of evacuation evolves into a conversation about creating a military unit of cultivators. Fua hints at Shinji's personal connections with Liu. Shinji denies romantic innuendos, focusing on the mission. His behavior betrays irritation. Political games distract from the main thing. The commander emphasizes the need to control the newcomers. Their spiritual energy makes them dangerous if left unsupervised. The girl mentions the behavioral problems of experienced cultivators. Their independence complicates the formation of disciplined units. Fua offers Shinji the chance to lead the training of new recruits. In exchange, he promises benefits, but the young man declines the offer. The girl praises her friend's integrity. His words hide his pride. Shinji remains true to his goals. The discussion turns to the Cultivators Association. Shinji intends to see their project through to success before taking on any more responsibilities. Fua accepts the refusal, but does not hide his disappointment. The military is losing the chance to gain such a valuable ally. The captain notices the tension and changes the subject. It's time to get back to fighting the fire anomaly. Chaos at the edge of the evacuation zone as people try to break through barriers, ignoring warnings of danger. The soldiers block the passage, but the crowd does not retreat. The soldiers block the passage, but the crowd does not retreat. A stranger appears, mocking Shinji's connection to Lu, his provocations aimed at causing division within the team. He sees the couple Lin and Yuko standing together near the crowd, looking towards Shinji and making some sarcastic comments. The boy threatens Shinji, blaming him for the failure of his relationship with Lin. His words are full of venom and jealousy. The young man remains calm, analyzing the motives of the attacker. Perhaps this is a trap to distract him from the mission. The girl intervenes, covering her friend's back. His authority forces the lovers to temporarily retreat. The appearance of the purple-haired girl changes the dynamic of the conversation. Her interest in Shinji is obvious. She sees potential in him. The stranger compares the young man to a warrior of pure love, causing laughter among those around him. The joke defuses the situation. Shinji ignores the provocations, asking a direct question about Nakai's connection to the anomaly. His directness takes everyone by surprise. Shinji notices that Nakai is hiding information. It's time to move on to tough negotiations. The character is furious at being rejected, and his anger is directed at the woman whose beauty he believes breeds arrogance. She vows revenge, no matter the consequences. The threats sound like an attempt to restore her self-esteem. The second character inadvertently draws attention by apologizing for his habit of watching. His excuses only increase the tension. The first hero snorts dismissively. Without money, he says, such a person would have long been rejected by society. On-site inspection confirms that the fire anomaly is intensifying. Expansion of the evacuation zone is inevitable. Captain Fuwa points to the source of the fire energy concentration, his words supported by data from the instruments. Shinji silently studies the map of the zone. Every decision is now critical. A mistake will lead to disaster. The discussion moves on to finding emergency measures. There is almost no time left for reflection. A special device records the growth of spiritual energy. The team is forced to expand the quarantine zone to 10 kilometers. The order causes confusion among the soldiers. Such measures seem excessive to them, but there are no alternatives. Shinji approaches the epicenter, ignoring the warnings. His lightning attribute is weak to the fire element. Kawasaki tries to stop the boy, but he already disappears into the smoke. All that remains is to hope for his luck. Panic grips the command post as officers struggle to contain the out-of-control blaze. Questions to the commander remain unanswered. His silence suggests that the situation was planned in advance. Shinji appears at the door, his clothes singed, holding a strange artifact that radiates heat. Kawasaki grabs the device. The readings are off the charts. The artifact may be the key to suppressing the anomaly. The sensors detect record levels of fiery energy. The system offers Shinji to absorb it, but he hesitates. The young man analyzes the risks. It is unknown whether his body can withstand such a load, even taking into account the unique attribute. Shinji makes a decision. His fingers tighten around the artifact, and a bright flash illuminates the entire area. Fuwa advises to proceed with caution. Her experience tells her that haste is deadly now. The girl admires the progress. Perhaps the young man is capable of reaching even the 6th stage in the future. The fire energy level reaches the 2nd stage. The system rewards Shinji with a new skill that enhances his attribute. Shinji gains the unique technique Eternal Sacred Flame, reaching a new level of mastery. The gold attribute greatly increases his potential. The system rewards the young man with bonus points for his first gold skill. This discovery changes his approach to training. The team watches in amazement as his aura transforms. Even the experienced fighters can't hide their admiration for the scale of the energy absorbed. Shinji absorbs the remaining fire energy, shocking those around him. His body can withstand a load that ordinary cultivators would not be able to handle. Fuwa whispers in confusion. Is he really the incarnation of the fire god? Doubts are mixed with concern for his friend. The young man ignores the questions, analyzing the changes in his attribute. Each cell is filled with uncontrollable power. The military records abnormal energy readings. The data is sent to the highest command for urgent analysis. Shinji feels the flames pulsing through his veins. Controlling them requires immediate meditation. Fua checks on Shinji's condition after absorbing the energy, her voice shaking with a mixture of relief and worry. The young man insists that everything is fine, but the paleness of his face says otherwise. The overload is making itself felt. She looks at her device and sees very strange indicators on it. What do they mean? She sees her device catching fire and ready to explode here. She throws the sensor away from herself. Our protagonist grabs her and hugs her, hiding her from the shards behind his back. Fua looks at him with loving eyes and admits that she would do a lot to have this guy touch her more often. The military demands an explanation for the energy absorbed. Shinji names his level as the 4th stage of the boiling spring. The officers can't believe their ears. Such strength for a rookie is an incredible achievement, bordering on the absurd. The young man is evasive about his training methods, his secrets remaining a mystery even to his closest allies. Fua interrupts the interrogation, reminding them of their priorities. It's time to get back to evacuating and reinforcing the barriers. Shinji notices a spark of interest in the officer's eyes. Perhaps his abilities will become the subject of new experiments. The military once again offers Shinji to join their ranks, promising benefits. The young man categorically refuses, loyal to the association. Fua supports the decision, but warns that the reports will raise questions from high command. Shinji shrugs indifferently. His goals are higher than political games, to become stronger, to protect his loved ones. The officer leaves, promising not to press. However, his eyes show calculation. He will return with new arguments. Liu asks you to help eliminate the anomaly. The girl agrees, but sets a condition: complete autonomy in actions. The team prepares equipment to suppress the fire. Every step is coordinated with the young man. He is now the main strategist. Shinji wakes up in the morning and smells the fresh, delicious food, saying that yes, you can definitely cook well. Fua shows up unexpectedly at Shinji's house, citing military necessity. Her visit violates Shinji's personal boundaries. The boy expresses indignation, demanding an explanation. His voice trembles with distrust of the intruder's motives. The military woman calmly justifies the registration of the house as a strategic move. Her arguments sound convincing, but cold. Shinji refuses to accept this intrusion. He wants to ask you how she feels about this situation, but her room is empty. Fua switches to a proposal of cooperation, his words mixing businesslike manner with a subtle threat. He analyzes the situation, noting traces of haste. Every detail indicates careful planning of the escape. The soldier examines the abandoned items, trying to reconstruct the chain of events. His suspicions fall on his allies. The announcement of the extermination mission makes him frown. The plan clearly has pitfalls. Shinji decides to go it alone, ignoring protocols. The risk is worth it if the goal is so important. An emergency call forces the team to drop everything. The panic in the dispatcher's voice indicates the criticality of the situation. The girl thinks about everything, realizing that it is impossible to cope without Shinji. His absence puts everyone at risk. He tries to take the initiative, but her authority is not enough. There's a feeling of hopelessness in the air. He notices subtle symbols around the edges. Her guess changes her perception of the entire situation. She shatters a huge energy shard underwater and tries to avoid the shards from in the water. She is glad that she was able to do it herself, without anyone's help, so she proved her strength. But suddenly a large shadow falls on the crystal, which means not very good news. Something is nearby, and it is moving here. Her eyes widened at what had taken her by surprise, and she was trying to run away from here as far as possible. She turns around to see a huge fish opening its mouth and preparing to attack her, swallowing her in one gulp. An unexplained phenomenon causes alarm among observers. Spiritual energy pulsates abnormally, disrupting the usual balance of forces. A group of cultivators are discussing what is happening. Their instruments are registering instability, but the source of the threat remains unclear. Yu panics and tries to stabilize the barrier. Her efforts only temporarily hold back the growing pressure. The monster's shadow absorbs Shinji's spiritual energy. The young man realizes that every moment gives the enemy new strength. She reaches up, trying to break the connection with the creature. The tension reaches a critical point. The tentacle hits Yu's skull, causing her to squirt blood and pass out underwater. Yu looks at the approaching shadow in horror, thoughts of imminent death paralyzing his will to resist. Shinji pushes him away, taking the blow himself. The lightning forms a shield, but its fragility is obvious. Yu screams, warning of another attack, her voice lost in the roar of collapsing buildings. The guy coordinates the retreat, but the escape routes are blocked. All that remains is to fight to the end. The injured Yu is taken to a safe zone. Her condition is alarming. Her spiritual energy is almost depleted. Shinji vows to deal with the culprits, his cold gaze promising merciless retribution. He stays by her bedside, analyzing data about the monster. Every move the girl makes is recorded by the system. The commander thanks Shinji for saving his daughter, his words mixing sincerity with political calculation. The discussion turns to the nature of the monster. The shadow, called the Devourer, lurked in the depths for 6 months. The man reveals the details of the mission. The lack of information about the creature's true form complicates the development of a strategy. Shinji asks questions, revealing contradictions in the reports. His analytical skills impress even skeptics. The young man agrees to help, but demands complete autonomy. The commander reluctantly accepts the conditions. The secret of the monster is revealed. It uses darkness for camouflage and draws power from the ocean depths. The restoration of spiritual energy made him invulnerable. Normal attacks only temporarily slow the creature. Shinji studies the energy flow patterns. His plan involved a risky breakthrough to the epicenter of the anomaly. Natsuki explains to her grandfather the necessity of the risky mission, her reasoning based on the military's previous failure to deal with the threat. The commander emphasizes Shinji's uniqueness as the only one who can resist the shadow. The choice fell on him for a reason. The other candidates turn out to be weak. Natsuki expresses doubt, fearing for the boy's life. Her words reflect concern, but her grandfather remains adamant. 3 elite fighters are assigned to provide support. Their skills should offset the risks, but there is no guarantee of success. The tension in the room is growing. The decision has been made, and it is too late to back out. Restoring spiritual energy changes the world order. Lagging behind in developing anomalous zones threatens national security. The A-class zone becomes a test for a show of force. The success of the mission will strengthen the country's position in the international arena. The captain reminds everyone of the importance of caution. His words are addressed to Shinji, but they sound like general advice to everyone. The young man nods, hiding his excitement. The pressure is enormous, but he has no other choice. Preparations for landing at the port are in full swing. Kaori is missing. Her level is insufficient for the current task. The captain checks the readiness of the fighters, emphasizing discipline. The military's help should simplify the operation. The soldier vows not to let his team down. His zeal is mixed with nervousness. This is the first serious challenge. Shinji arrives at the scene, surveying the area. His experience tells him that the real threat will exceed all predictions. The boy mocks the team's youth, and his disdain for Shinji angers his allies. The mention of the 4th level of Boiling Spring makes Kuraki frown. He didn't expect such strength from a newbie. The dialogue turns into conflict. Tensions between the military and the cultivators threaten to derail the mission. Shinji remains unperturbed, his calm contrasting with the emotionality of the others. The group leader tries to smooth over the conflict. His words are aimed at uniting the team in the face of a common threat. The guy reluctantly retreats, hiding his irritation. Cooperation is necessary, but mutual distrust remains. Shinji ignores the provocations, focusing on the plan, his authority gradually overpowering the disagreements. The team moves towards a goal. The first steps in the zone make everyone tense up. Danger is felt in every step. Shinji feels the darkness sucking spiritual energy from his body. The corrosive effect of the attribute instantly weakens the team. The boy scans his surroundings, trying to find the source of the threat. His lightning attribute pulses weakly, overwhelmed by the monster's aura. A shadow in the distance shifts, becoming a blur. The group prepares for the worst-case scenario. The smell of rot penetrates even underwater, causing nausea in the fighters. The captain warns, a long stay here is mortally dangerous. Shinji blocks the effects of the darkness, stabilizing his energy flow. His actions temporarily neutralize the threat to his allies. The captain jokes about the possibility of panic among the newcomers, but there is tension in his voice. The young man ignores the sarcasm, concentrating on tactics. Spiritual energy pulses unevenly, creating the risk of a sudden breach of defense. The team regroups, preparing for an attack. Mika activates the ice attribute, slowing the spread of the dark aura. Her efforts give the group a break. The energy barrier cracks under the pressure of darkness. The boy shouts a warning, but his words are drowned out by the roar of the monster. The boy pushes his ally away, taking the blow himself. Lightning flashes, forming a temporary shield. The illusion dissipates, revealing tentacles lashing out from the darkness. The group retreats, breaking formation. The captain coordinates a counterattack, but the level 5 monster exceeds all expectations. Its power explains the failure of the previous missions. Shinji stops the panicking fighter. His voice sounds harsh. Observe, and do not act blindly. The illusion of the monster dissolves, revealing its true form, a giant kraken with eyes full of hatred. The tentacles grab the nearest soldier. Shinji lunges forward, cutting through the darkness with a flash of lightning. The boy nods, gathering energy in his palms. A blinding discharge burns through the monster's flesh, forcing it to retreat. The boy mocks the crew's inexperience until the tentacles grab him. His arrogance turns to horror. Shinji reacts with lightning speed, cutting off the dark tentacles. Kuraki falls to his knees, shocked by the youth's strength. The captain shouts, "Level 5. Now it is clear why the previous squads were defeated." Mika strengthens her barrier, blocking more attacks. Her face pales with the effort, but she holds on. Mika charges in desperation, ignoring orders. His wind blades are useless against the monster's armor. Kawasaki grabs him by the collar, dragging him to a safe area. "Fool, you'll ruin everyone," he growls. Mika finishes preparing the technique. Golden flames envelop him, neutralizing the darkness around him. The monster roars, feeling threatened. The tentacles thrash about in panic, but it's too late. Mika reports to the captain about the successful completion of the mission. His voice sounds confident, but the trembling in his hands betrays his fatigue. The team freezes, watching the aftermath of the explosion. The monster's shadow dissipates, leaving behind only ash and silence. The boy nods approvingly, hiding his relief. The young man's risky tactics paid off, although the price could have been higher. Mika checks the status of the barriers. Her ice attribute is weakening, but the threat is gone. She can catch her breath. Kuraki didn't take, and the rest of the people are finished off by the octopus. Everyone except Mick reached the tentacle. The tentacle breaks through Mickey's defense, shaking the barrier and breaking it into many pieces. The tip of the tentacle is almost right next to her, preparing to kill her right now. She looks at this and thinks that this is probably where her end will come from this monster. But suddenly some yellow glow illuminates her, and the tentacle does not reach the girl. Discussion of Shinji's attribute is confusing. His flames are different from standard fire, pulsating with a golden glow. The boy analyzes the data, noting the abnormal energy density. Perhaps this is due to the boy's unique system. The monster, feeling threatened, tries to counterattack. The tentacles twitch in convulsions, but can no longer cause harm. Shinji activates the new technique promised by the system. The air fills with heat, forcing his allies to retreat to a safe distance. Golden flames envelop the shadow, dissolving its flesh. Even the captain does not hide his admiration for the scale of the destruction. Trying to pierce the monster with a sword seems futile to everyone. They think that it will break as soon as it touches the armored body of the creature. Kuraki shouts a warning, but Shinji has already acted. His fingers tighten around the artifact, activating the holy fire technique. A blinding flash burns through the darkness, reaching the core of the monster. An attack that seemed insane becomes the key to victory. The team watches in amazement as the creature disintegrates. Even a level 5 is not enough to withstand this power. The flames completely engulf the underwater monster, turning it into a fried octopus. All that can be heard is the death roar that pierces the entire water space around. Everyone around is shocked by Shinji's strength, and our main character puts on a poker face. This is a common thing for him. The commander emphasizes Shinji's exceptionalism, comparing him to the moon, unreachable by ordinary cultivators. His words provoke a mixture of envy and anxiety among the military. Kuraki disagrees, pointing out the boy's lack of formal training, but is silenced by arguments about Shinji's potential. The discussion turns to a strategy for winning the young man over to one side. The risk of hostility towards him is considered unacceptable. His strength exceeds all current resources. Watching Mika's composure in a dangerous situation, Kuraki can't help but admire her fortitude. Her level of 3rd stage is impressive considering her age. Comparisons with Shinji make him bitter. The realization of his own limitations makes him reconsider his attitude towards the team. The conversation is interrupted by a joke about sharing drinks. The tension eases, but mistrust still hangs in the air. Kuraki apologizes to Shinji, admitting his wrongdoing. His gesture of respect changes the dynamics within the group. The young man accepts the apology, emphasizing common goals. His modesty contrasts with the power he displays. The team quickly leaves the area to escape the suffocating smell. The captain lingers, discovering an anomaly that requires investigation. Finding Stardew flowers becomes an unexpected advantage. Their properties can enhance Mickey and use attributes, which is critical for future missions. He picks them for himself and takes them with him to the surface, already thinking about how he will use them. Shinji scans the area, noting the absence of the crew. Being alone in a dangerous area is alarming, but curiosity gets the better of him. Shinji is taken aback by Takedo Light's appearance. The bodyguard introduces himself with cold politeness, handing over a business card with his contact information. His connection to the commander's daughter, Fua Natsuki, adds a layer of political intrigue. Shinji analyzes the hidden motives behind this visit. Takedo reveals the details. Mika is already safe, and Kuraki is returning to base. A meeting with the commander is inevitable. This is a new challenge. Shinji assesses the bodyguard's strength. His attributes are hidden, but experience tells him he is a stage 6 opponent. Commander Fua invites Shinji for a private conversation, his interest in the boy's abilities reinforced by data on fire energy absorption. The man introduces himself as Natsuki's grandfather, confirming his connection to the military elite. The question about storing power inside the body sounds more like a test than curiosity. Shinji keeps his cool, avoiding details. His answers are terse, but the commander senses hidden potential behind the modesty. The conversation turns to global change, with Fua hinting at the need to join forces in the face of new threats. The young man analyzes the hidden motives of his interlocutor. Every word of the commander is aimed at recruitment, but there is no overt pressure. Fua notes Shinji's uniqueness in the world of restored spiritual energy. His power, developed without the support of structures, is both admirable and disturbing. The commander compares the current reality to chaos, where ordinary people are powerless. The offer of cooperation sounds like a call to responsibility. Shinji dismisses the praise as luck, but the old man sees strategic caution behind it, not false modesty. The mention of his granddaughter reveals Fua's personal interest. His assessment of Shinji as level-headed implicitly approves of Natsuki's choice. The conversation ends with a hint of upcoming trials. The commander leaves the question open, giving the young man time to think. Fua reveals the dangers of the dark attribute, which can turn living beings into monsters. His explanations are supported by data from past missions. Shinji's lightning is called a key weapon against the threat. The commander emphasizes that the growth of the youth's strength is critical to the country's security. The boy agrees to step up his training, but his eyes are filled with distrust. Fua's political games may have other goals. The old man eases the pressure by turning the conversation to practical matters. The energy control advice sounds sincere, but the duality remains. Shinji leaves, thinking about what he's heard. Promising to dedicate himself to training is not only a duty, but a personal challenge. Fua hands Shinji a hardened military phone. The device allows him to instantly contact command in an emergency. The young man suddenly asks for help with a weapon. His sword, a gift from the association chairman, cannot withstand the load of spiritual energy. The commander examines the broken blade, noting the rare alloy. The promise to create stronger examples confirms the seriousness of the intentions. The conversation switches to technical details. Fua's engineers are already working on adapting the weapon to Shinji's unique attributes. The farewell takes place on a businesslike note. The old man reminds us that the telephone is not only a communication tool, but also a symbol of trust. Shinji returns to base, reflecting on the meeting. His thoughts are interrupted by an urgent message about Yu's problems. Her attribute has gone out of control. The young man rushes to the scene, ignoring the protocols. The alarm in the reporter's voice indicates the seriousness of the situation. Yu is in critical condition. Her vital signs are deteriorating rapidly. The dark attribute of spiritual energy is destroying her body from the inside, causing a coma. Doctors argue about treatment methods. Trying to extract energy can provoke an uncontrolled release, but inaction will lead to death. Chairman Liu blames himself for what happened. His trembling hands betray his despair. Saving his daughter seems impossible. Shinji rushes into the room, ignoring the doctor's protests. His system activates a search for a solution, analyzing energy patterns. The young man orders everyone to be evacuated except Liu. The risk of the procedure is too great to endanger outsiders. Liu explains the connection between the dark attribute and Yu's self-doubt. Her desire to prove her worth led to a fatal error. Shinji studies the data, noting the energy is unstable. His system requires physical contact for accurate diagnosis. The chairman doubts the young man's methods, but agrees to the experiment. Every second of delay reduces the chances of success. Liu freezes, watching the process, his hopes now entirely dependent on the stranger's abilities. The doctors try to force Shinji out, believing his intervention to be dangerous. Their screams mix with the beeps of the medical equipment. The young man ignores the complaints, focusing on the system. The lightning around him intensifies, suppressing the resistance of the staff. Liu ends the conflict by asserting Shinji's authority. His authority causes the medics to back down, although mistrust remains. The procedure continues. The dark energy resists, forming vortices that hit the walls of the chamber. The medic demands an explanation, but Shinji continues his work in silence. His fingers tremble with tension, but his contact with Yu remains intact. Liu threatens to fire those who interfere with the process. His eyes are full of rage. He is ready to take extreme measures for the sake of his daughter. Shinji orders the room cleared. Those remaining risk being hit by residual energy when the procedure is completed. The boy agrees, strengthening the barrier around them both. The final phase of the treatment requires absolute concentration. Liu gives the order to carry out all of Shinji's demands. His voice is shaky, but his authority is unquestionable. The medics leave the room, leaving their equipment behind. Their faces reflect a mixture of fear and curiosity. Shinji completes the procedure, his strength waning. Drops of blood fall to the floor, but the result is achieved. Yu is saved. Lu thanks the young man, offering any resources the association can muster. His words sound like an oath of allegiance. Shinji declines help, stating that she needs to rest. Her body needs to recover from the overload. Shinji vows to bring his loved one back to life, his voice shaking with a mixture of determination and fear of possible loss. Lightning around his hands pulses, reflecting the internal struggle. Every second of hesitation seems like an eternity, but there is no retreat. The guy greets the girl and congratulates her on waking up. She finally came to her senses. He asks her now not to do any more stupid and senseless, as well as bold actions. Yu regains consciousness. Her first question is directed at Shinji. The girl doubts her value, considering herself a burden to the team. The young man explains how the Stardew flowers helped neutralize the darkness. His words sound calm, but his eyes show fatigue from overexertion. Yu compares their strengths, reproaching himself for his weakness. Shinji reminds her that her level of the third stage makes her one of the strongest in the world. The dialogue is interrupted by a joke about her ambitions. The girl admits that she dreamed of surpassing even Chairman Lu, but now doubts it. Shinji gently cuts off her self-criticism. His faith in her is unwavering, as is his willingness to support her in any situation. Shinji announces the start of rehabilitation training. The forest on the outskirts is chosen as an area where they will not be disturbed by strangers. Yu nods, hiding her excitement. Her fingers instinctively tighten around the amulet, a symbol of hope for her recovery. We see Yu training with a mutant wolf. All this happens under the leadership of our main character. Shinji walks away, leaving the team alone with their thoughts. His silhouette fades into the twilight, a promise of new challenges. The level 5 mutant wolf falls from one blow from Yu. His body crumbles into ashes, confirming the girl's growth in strength. Yu claps her hands in admiration. Her words about moving up to stage 4 sound sincere, but Shinji waves off the praise. The training ends early. The group returns to base, hearing explosions that cut through the silence of the forest. Sensors detect a surge of dark energy deep in the forest. The system warns of a threat greater than any before. Shinji scans the area, noting abnormal fluctuations. His lightning attribute activates spontaneously, reacting to the danger. Yu clutches her heart, feeling the pressure of darkness. Her face turns pale, but she is ready to follow the captain to the end. Yudo and Koyuki discuss Lin's strange behavior after meeting the mysterious woman. The young man jokes, but there is a hint of jealousy in his tone. Lin silently gathers firewood, ignoring her friend's taunts. Her thoughts are occupied by the image of the stranger who has captured her imagination. Lin offers to help Koyuki with the tent, but Yudo is distracted by memories. His enthusiastic descriptions of beauty only increase his friend's curiosity. Yudo admits that the image of the woman has haunted him for several days. His words mix admiration with annoyance at his own infatuation. Koyuki teases his friend, causing him to become embarrassed. The evening camp is filled with laughter, masking unspoken emotions. Lin continues to work silently, her fingers nervously breaking dry branches. The encounter with the stranger has clearly shaken her more than she cares to admit. The boy suddenly goes quiet, noticing a strange shadow behind the trees. His joking mood turns to caution. News of a global restoration of spiritual energy is causing a stir. Experts predict an era of unprecedented opportunities and dangers. An unknown man in a mask proclaims himself the future king of a new era. His manifesto sounds like a challenge to all existing powers. Lin clenches her fists, remembering the humiliation from the woman. Her ambitions collide with the fear of losing again. Yudo watches the broadcast, his usual nonchalance giving way to anxiety. Clouds of change are gathering on the horizon. Lin experiences a surge of energy during training, her water attribute pulsating brighter in response to changes in the world around her. Koyuki notices a strange glow, but decides not to interrupt her friend. Her intuition tells her that this is a breakthrough that will change their group. Yudo drops the branches he's gathered, amazed by Lin's strength. His envy mixes with pride for his ally. The young cultivator falls to her knees, exhausted. Her first experience of controlling the new energy comes at the cost of enormous effort. A pack of mutant wolves surrounds a camp. Yudo covers Koyuki, his usual carefree manner giving way to combat focus. Lin tries to activate the attribute, but her strength is running out. Her cry of warning is drowned out by the growls of the creatures. Koyuki freezes in horror as he watches the predator's abnormal speed. The question of human limits hangs in the air, unanswered. Yudo knocks back the first wave with a blow from his staff, but the pack does not retreat. The situation becomes critical. Yudo freezes with his mouth open, recognizing that very beauty. His admiration is mixed with shame for his own helplessness. Lin grips her blade in rage, seeing her salvation in the hands of her rival. Her ambitions take another blow, but her resolve only grows stronger. The stranger disappears, leaving the group confused. The air is filled with the smell of ozone and dark energy. Mutant wolves infected with dark energy are causing concern for the group. Their uncontrolled aggression threatens not only the forest, but also the nearby settlements. You suggest reporting to Chairman Liu immediately. Her pragmatism clashes with Shinji's caution, who prefers to gather data first. You scans the energy signatures, noting the abnormal density of darkness. Her fingers tremble, the experience of past encounters making itself felt. Shinji reminds Commander Fuwa of his promise. Civilian safety remains a priority, even if it slows down the operation. Traces of a recent camp are found near the contaminated area. An extinguished fire and abandoned items indicate a hasty escape. Yu examines the remains of the tent, finding claw marks. The size of the marks suggests that the mutants are larger than normal wolves. Yu finds traces of blood leading deeper into the forest. Her suggestion to check them is controversial. The risk of encountering an alpha is too great. The boy suddenly freezes, hearing a growl. His hand involuntarily reaches for his weapon, but everything around him is quiet for now. The appearance of another stranger shocks the group. His beauty and the power of his aura leave even Shinji momentarily speechless. Yudo tries to joke, offering to drink together. His bravado hides his admiration, but the woman ignores the provocations. The stranger demonstrates a level comparable to the previous opponent. Her gaze is full of contempt for the weaklings who invaded her domain. The woman brags about her past victory over Shinji. Her words are full of venom, but the boy remains cool, analyzing his weak points. The guy asks a provocative question about her cultivation method. The answer shocks everyone. She absorbed the attributes of defeated enemies. Shinji notices traces of feedback in his energy. Such a risky method should have fatal consequences, but she seems unharmed. Shinji accuses the woman of intentionally releasing the infected wolves. Her indifference to innocent lives infuriates the young man. She ridicules his weak principles. According to her, strength justifies any sacrifice, a philosophy alien to the entire team. Yudo charges forward, but her wind sends him flying like a splinter. The failure only proves the difference in skill level. The boy scoffs at the group's attempts, calling them childish. Her aura explodes into a dark glow, sweeping away all barriers. Shinji parries the blow using a sword enhanced by command. The metal cracks, but holds up under the strain, a testament to the quality of the modifications. The world witnesses a sharp increase in spiritual energy. A fruit accidentally discovered in the mountains becomes the key to the evolution of the common man. The youth absorbs the fruit's energy. His lightning attribute is activated spontaneously. The strength indicators reach the second stage of the boiling spring. People around you whisper about incredible luck. The restoration of energy changes the rules of the game, opening the way for new leaders. The mysterious fighter easily repels Yudo's attacks. His movements are precise, as if he anticipates his opponent's every move. The young man, in desperation, increases the force of his blows, but in vain. The opponent's shields remain undamaged, as if made of adamant. The mockery in the stranger's voice hurts more than the blades. Yudo understands that his skills are just dust compared to the true masters. Shinji watches the fight, analyzing the fighting style. His system detects weak points, but it is too early to intervene. The cultivator boy humiliates Yudo by comparing him to a newbie. His words burn stronger than fire, leaving scars on his pride. Yudo falls to his knees, unable to rise. The realization of his own weakness paralyzes his will to resist. Yuko frowns, noting the imbalance of power. Such clashes are dangerous, sowing discord among allies. Lin and the others try to help, but her ice spikes meld a meter away from their target. The difference in levels is insurmountable without outside intervention. Shinji defeats Yudo in a training battle, shocking the onlookers. His progress seems incredible in such a short time. Yudo's ex-girlfriend regrets the breakup. Her eyes are full of envy. Now she understands who she lost. The team receives orders to detain the suspects. The mountain range is blocked for fear of information leaking about new artifacts. Suddenly, some kind of epiphany comes to Yudo, some kind of vision. Everything suddenly becomes dark. The masked shadow offers a deal, power in exchange for loyalty. His voice sounds like the whisper of a demon tempting a soul. Yudo clenches his fists, agreeing to the terms. Shinji's thirst for revenge clouds his mind, causing him to forget about principles. Dark energy envelopes his body, altering his DNA at the cellular level. Pain becomes the price for the promised power. The new power turns Yudo into a tool of the association. His wind attribute is now poisoned by darkness, capable of corroding flesh. He vows to humiliate Shinji by forcing him to kneel. The words sound hollow, like someone else's voice. Yu detects changes in Yudo's energy. Alarming data is sent to command. The threat has gotten out of control. Suddenly, Yudo explodes with his hellish dark purple energy and hits all his friends around him with this liquid. Shinji and Yu put their hands forward, so that all this dark and dirty energy didn't touch them. He loses his human form and turns into just a purple goo. Shinji stands in confusion as he watches the sudden changes around him. The air fills with a thick energy, signaling the awakening of an ancient power. An unknown creature materializes from the darkness, its voice echoing across the landscape. The return to the world is accompanied by spatial distortions that break the usual laws of physics. The boy retreats, instinctively feeling the threat. His fingers grip the hilt of the sword, but there is no certainty of victory. The enemy exceeds all expectations. Finally, after absorbing all of Yudo's friends, the demon himself, who deceived the foolish Yudo, appears from the ground. The demon's level rapidly increases from the second to the fourth stage. The creature's body deforms, becoming covered with spikes and black patterns resembling runes. Shinji's system identifies the threat as a lesser Dark Lord. The reward for defeating him includes a new attribute slot, underscoring the seriousness of the enemy. The demon disparages the group, calling their energy insufficient. Only Shinji and Yudo's attributes are of interest. Absorbing them promises to restore strength. The demon's first attack is blocked by Shinji, but the recoil nearly knocks him off his feet. Lightning crackles, stabilizing the protective barrier at the last moment. The boy demands answers about Yudo's fate, but the creature only smirks. Its movements become faster, leaving behind a trail of dark mist. The demon refuses to engage in dialogue, scoffing at attempts at negotiation. Its aura thickens, forming blades of pure darkness, ready to pierce the defense. Shinji activates the golden flame, creating a wave of light. The collision of energies causes an explosion, blinding everyone for several seconds. Yu uses the moment to strengthen her barrier, her water attribute merging with lightning to form an electric shield around her allies. The group's attacks bounce off the demon's armor without leaving a scratch. The creature mocks their efforts, comparing them to raindrops. Yu changes tactics, focusing on mobility. Her lightning burns the dark blades, but each strike requires a huge expenditure of energy. The demon parries the combined attack, his voice sounding disappointed. "Is that all?" he asks, spreading his arms in a dramatic gesture. Shinji ignores the provocations, analyzing the enemy's movement patterns. The system detects a weak point, a scar on his chest, hidden under his armor. He breaks out of the monster, ripping it to pieces, and asks if this is all he can do. The chapter ends here. The purple being taunts Shinji, doubting his ability to resist after the seal on dark space is removed. Shinji's ally resolutely declares her readiness to fight alongside him against a powerful enemy. The main character calmly declines the help, expressing a desire to test the limits of his own strength in this duel. The girl, clearly confused, demands an explanation of the meaning of Shinji's words regarding his full power. But then the guy activates his power, and the yellow energy along with lightning around shows what he was talking about. And at that very second, the main character quickly rushed towards the demon in order to deliver his blow. Just before the hand and the demon touched, the hero began to emit even more energy, after which we see only a huge beam of energy throwing the demon far away and slamming it into the ground with such force that an explosion occurred at that spot. The defeated demon expressed shock that a weak human could throw him off and mocked his possible fear. The question sounds mockingly. Was the demon really so afraid of an ordinary person? A scream escapes the demon's mouth, telling the boy not to look down on him, because he is just a human. And full of rage and desire to immediately destroy the enemy, he attacked him. In a split second, this attack reached the main character, and he was already face to face with death. But he easily blocked the attack, without straining himself at all. The demon is amazed that the boy blocked his powerful attack with just one hand without receiving any damage. The main character asked whether the demon finally felt real fear in the face of such power. Shinji states that he doesn't even need to use full power, expressing obvious disappointment at the threat level. The demon is frightened to realize that the guy is not an ordinary person, but a creature superior to him in strength. Seized with horror, the demon desperately denies the very possibility of his death in this place. The thought of having to absorb more people in order to gain immense power and subsequent revenge flashes through the demon's head. Shinji's decisive phrase sounded, blocking the demon's path and declaring the impossibility of his escape. And then the demon's entire body was engulfed in lightning and made him scream loudly in pain. The only way out of this situation is to turn into a bat to avoid this lightning bolt. The guy states the fact that the demon sacrificed most of his body for salvation. An ally anxiously asks Shinji about his condition after a fight with a dangerous enemy. Shinji reported that he was okay, but part of the monster had escaped and urgently asked to contact the chairman. Sometime later, meteorologists warn of worsening weather, and that because of the cold front, an emergency storm warning is being issued. Someone urgently informs everyone about the high probability of major rain and storms this afternoon. The scene changes and the girl's irritated voice blames a specific person for all the problems. The girl exclaims in disappointment about her plans for a long-awaited walk being ruined due to bad weather. Suddenly, she notices someone's presence here and turns around in confusion, asking questions about who is here. But a moment later, she herself no longer understands where she is and what she is doing here. Suddenly, the same demon bat appears in the sky right in front of her, and he attacks the girl, thereby frightening her very much. But the demon doesn't have time to attack because someone has already killed him in mid-flight. Someone asks in surprise whether the girl saw today's important news reports. The guy orders her to return home immediately because of the deadly danger on the street. It turns out to be Shinji. He also informs that it is not worth going outside until the sky is clear again. The girl admiringly notes Shinji's coolness after the events. Suddenly, the main character takes his phone out of his pocket and asks you for information about the current situation in her area. Yu reports that the escaped dark attribute creature turned out to be much more dangerous than expected. It became known that in order to escape, the creature split into countless bats. It has been discovered that mice evolved by absorbing the spiritual energy of humans, and there are already second-level individuals among them. He realizes the bats plan to use the townspeople as fuel to evolve to level 3 and revive the monster. The man understands the need to urgently find a solution before the threat of the monster's complete revival is realized. The scene switches back to one of the many thousands of demon bats, which hovers high above the city in the sky and watches the people in it. The creature hopes to restore its peak power by consuming all the people in the city. The monster plans to express his gratitude to the Lightning Man after he regains his strength. The creature's plans include a slow and painful execution of Shinji before his final death. The scene switches to a huge highway with a column of military vehicles moving along it. And some of the military have already arrived and taken up their positions. Panic posts about a giant bat attacking windows are all over the internet news sections. Users write in horror about man-eating bats and mutations, begging for help when the creatures break into homes. A desperate call for rescue is posted online, and someone from the editorial staff deletes these comments. An irritated girl wonders why people don't stay home instead of posting stupid things about their strength. The same girl screams that the internet needs to be shut down because of the millions of users spreading panic. The interlocutor calmly explains that disconnecting the network will cause even greater chaos and uncontrollable consequences. The girl irritably retorts that she was simply speaking out and accuses her interlocutor of being pushy. She demands information about the military deployment, noting a 30-minute delay and road blockages. The answer confirms the barrier of mice of the 3rd level, calls for calm, and the girl sits and worries about Shinji's life. The scene changes to a large headquarters building. Captain Fuji arrives at the assembly point with his assistant, and his appearance immediately attracts the team's attention. He promptly inquires about the condition of everyone present, demonstrating concern for his subordinates. Kaori and the other girl explain that they were training at the villa when the chairman reported the incident. A soldier reports to the captain about a bat attack while having dinner with his brothers at the time of the incident. He boasts of instantly destroying the creature with one blow and then frying it. The captain approves of the method, but asks to avoid eating the prey. Then the chief red-bearded man suggests starting a meeting with the military. The commander speaks with Fua and confirms the group's readiness for operational action upon Shinji's arrival. The military commander proposes to immediately begin discussing a plan to save the city of Amanami. He notes that the main roads into the city are blocked by numerous mutated bats. Intelligence has detected a powerful energy surge in the Amanami City Hall, the likely lair of the main control mouse. Shinji says the location's name with alarm, realizing the seriousness of the threat in this place. The guy notices unusual tension in Kaori's behavior, which raises questions. The military proposes a breakthrough along the Eastern Highway, clearing the route and precision bombing for evacuation. Members of the Cultivators Association will receive a separate task: the accelerated evacuation of people from the City Hall. The command emphasizes the criticality of the time limit, only 5 minutes before the uncontrolled evolution of the creature. A brief request was made regarding the presence of questions regarding the presented operational action plan. Kaori raises her hand and says that she is worried about the bombing being delayed due to the army having trouble arriving. Commander-in-Chief Fua is adamant that the bombing will begin strictly on schedule, despite the risks. Kaori's indignant cry is heard about the fate of the civilians left at the epicenter of the impending strike. The commander warns that the evolution of the dark creature threatens the death of not only the townspeople, but the entire country. Fua suddenly asks Kaori if she has any relatives in the affected area. The girl admits that her family lives in close proximity to the epicenter of the threat. All the group members are in shock. Only Shinji sits calmly. Another girl confidently promises to save Kaori's family, citing her increased skills after training with the captain. The fighter offers a solution. He will call, and his brother will evacuate the girl's relatives from the dangerous area by car. Chairman Fua removes Kaori from the operation due to her personal involvement in the situation. Kaori exclaims and asks, "Why is that?" Fua explains that the fighter's emotional instability threatens the success of the entire mission. Captain Fua asks Liu to appoint a replacement for the suspended fighter on an urgent basis. Liu himself is not happy about it. Shinji abruptly interrupts the meeting, declaring a critical miscalculation in the command plan. The soldier asks, "Why does he think so?" Shinji states that normal bombs will not harm a monster due to its unique nature. Chairman Liu reacts sharply to the guy's words, demanding an immediate explanation. The military man demands an explanation as to why Shinji is so confident that the bombing will be ineffective. The guy recalls a recent battle where he seriously wounded this creature personally. Shinji suggests replacing Fua's plan with his own, raising questions about the details of his strategy. It reminds of the special weapon requested earlier, and he takes out his lightning ball and speaks of his intention to destroy the monster with his own hands. The scene changes, and we now see a girl in front of a long, dark tunnel. She had a stopwatch in her hands, which was counting down the time evenly. The girl vowed to deliver Shinji to save the people of Amanami, showing determination at a critical moment. An order was given to all troops to begin an operation to destroy the anomalies. There was also an order to focus on the Amanami City Hall, and that the operation would begin from the Eastern Road. The task of the 5 squads is to guard the weapons as they are delivered to the hall. It doesn't matter how, but the weapons must be delivered. The success of the mission is declared a matter of national survival. The battle cry to save every citizen of the country sounded, and a bunch of soldiers rushed into the depths of the Eastern Tunnel. The voices of 100 soldiers echoed through the tunnel, and now thousands of bats were preparing to attack. The battle began. The soldiers raised their machine guns and began shooting at the monsters. But there were too many of them, and hundreds had already begun to break through the defenses and kill soldiers. The captain gives the signal for immediate movement, calling on the group to follow her without delay. There was a strong sense of collective survival, bolstering morale in the face of danger. The scene changes to a city sky completely filled with a swarm of bats. Many of them had already killed all the people on the street and were preparing to break the windows of houses in order to get inside. But suddenly, a huge beam of blue energy burst into the midst of the monsters and immediately destroyed half of them. It was Shinji who regretted his earlier restraint, realizing that full power could have prevented the current complications. The squad members ask the captain to wait, fearing that they will fall behind in the rapid advance. A bunch of mice shifted and prepared for a swift attack. The girl's powerful release of water energy forms ice spikes, and the water dragon, who attacks swarms of bats with destructive force. All this energy was launched into the air by the girls to destroy the demons. The girl assesses the scale of the threat, wondering about the actual number of creatures in the black cloud. A reproduction mechanism has been discovered. Bats replicate by absorbing the spiritual energy of people. The girls realize the danger of the merger of the countless swarm, predicting an exponential growth in a monster's power. Shinji confidently dismisses the concerns, recalling his previous victory over these creatures in the forest. The priority is to meet with Fua in the city hall to coordinate the decisive strike. The scene switched to the exit of the Eastern Tunnel. There weren't many soldiers left, and those who survived were very tired and wounded. Someone's voice speaks of the belonging of the people around, and the girl sees how the bats gather into some kind of figure. The appearance of a demon in human form made of mice leaves everyone around him dumbfounded. He calls the girl beautiful. She looks at the guy in shock and says that she is not happy to see him again. The girl accuses her opponent of the deaths of innocent residents of Amanami, demanding an answer for the chaos. The answer is a cynical philosophy about the survival of the fittest, which infuriates the accuser. The girl screams curses at the demon and quickly flies up to hit the freak in front of her. and she succeeds, but the satisfied grin does not leave the blonde's face. There was no damage, and the girl was shocked by this turn of events. The demon compares the cultivators to a feast, directly stating his intention to absorb their energy for himself. The creature admits that the group's arrival will speed up its recovery. Absorbing them will restore its absolute power. He grabs the girl and gives her mocking advice to become food like the previous owner of this body. Suddenly, a huge ice block of blue energy appeared between them. It was this that prevented the demon from absorbing the warrior girl. Light notes the girl's lack of sympathy and coldly declares the need to eliminate the opponent. The enemy's strength level has been detected, 4th stage of the boiling spring, possibly higher, in terms of energy concentration. The monster states that it is possible to evolve beyond its previous peak by absorbing this warrior light. The ally asks the girl to follow Shinji, taking on the task of delaying the threat here despite the risk. She understood her task and almost started running towards Shinji, but before that she asked Light to be careful. But the demon rushed forward and growled that he would not allow anyone to leave here. But his demonic tentacles collided with Light's icy energy. They were unable to break through it, and the demon was cut off from the rest of the city. The ban on the demon's movement is clearly stated, blocking any attempts to leave the conflict zone. Meanwhile, a detachment with weapons was already moving through the streets of the empty city, fighting off crowds of mice, which mercilessly devoured those soldiers who could not give a proper fight. The girl's irritated exclamation spoke of the overwhelming numerical superiority of the enemy creatures around. A new evolution of bats was visible, which made them invulnerable to conventional methods of control. She has doubts about the delivery of the weapons and the possibility of meeting Shinji, but quickly suppresses these thoughts with her faith in the team. The girl clenches her teeth and thinks that if they all try 100%, they can win. Suddenly, one of the mice noticed her and headed straight towards her soft skin. She was already ready to bite in, but suddenly a huge bolt of lightning destroyed it in 1 second. Finally, the main character appears, exclaiming that he had been looking for the girl for a long time and finally found her, and even saved her from death. Shinji's arrival immediately removes all worries, and he requests confirmation of delivery of critical weapons. The girl demonstrates the artifact received from her grandfather, expressing sincere curiosity about its real capabilities and nature. It turns out that the command did not provide details about the weapon, only vague hints about its exceptional power. The discovery of the sword inside the case raises doubts about its ability to counter the evolved threat. Shinji offers a practical demonstration of the blade's power, urgently demanding that Kate clear the kill zone. The command to clear the perimeter is given. The guy is preparing to activate the weapon in combat conditions. Just at this time, a huge swarm of mice attack the main character. Shinji opens the system window. The charging process begins. Magical energy merges with lightning and flame, strengthening the blade to the limit. And he gives the first attack with the cross. Power and energy make all monsters die at once, ridding humanity of demons. The force of the blow shocks observers, the actions confirming the legendary status of the weapon and Shinji. The girl admires Shinji's technique and asks him to teach her, showing genuine interest in his skills. The guy agrees, but warns about the need to reach the 4th level of the boiling spring to control such power. Shinji anxiously inquires about the fate of the remaining soldiers, fearing the worst outcome for most of the squad. Light is confirmed to be fighting Nakai Yudo, and an urgent request for assistance is made in this confrontation. The boy is shocked by the possible return of Yudo, who was previously thought to have been absorbed by a dark creature. The scene changes to a landscape of a destroyed city. Light fights with all his might, using his ice spikes as claws. But his technique still fails, the ice breaks. Demon Yudo acknowledges his opponent's strength, but points out the critical depletion of his spiritual energy during the fight. He says he has endless bats that are ruining all the group's tactical efforts. The creatures quickly flew out and began to absorb the icy remains of light spikes. And he realized that the mice were absorbing the remaining spiritual energy from the icy battlefield to reproduce faster. The warrior notes with alarm the fact that part of the swarm has evolved to level 3, which dramatically increases the danger of the situation. All he can do to hold them off as long as possible is to put up a huge ice shield in front of him. But due to exhaustion, the shield very soon began to crack from the endless number of bats. And soon they broke through the shield and attacked poor Light. From the force of the blow from the powerful army of monsters, he flew back a couple of meters. The conclusion is grim, about a catastrophic development of events, leaving no room for error. One hand has already been lost. The demon ironically notes the opponent's distance, thinking that this is a manifestation of fear of his power. But suddenly an ice attack was activated, the last hope. Light spikes shoot towards their target with piercing speed and precision. But Yudo only grinned. And he suddenly grabbed the spike right in front of him. Apparently, for him this attack was not strong or unexpected. Light was in shock. Apparently his end had come. The monster triumphantly absorbs the released spiritual energy, admitting to having been waiting for this moment of empowerment. Light realizes the evil plan. His attack is being used as a source of energy for the enemy's evolution. In gratitude for the restoration of strength, the creature promises a special technique, a demonstration of absolute power. And he fired a demonic arrow straight at Light. This was clearly the end. He wouldn't have time to dodge. And Light closed his eyes in despair and only managed to apologize to some young girl. But Shinji was already there and apologized for his delay. Light was in shock because he was already ready to die. But he is already screaming about the danger. It is impossible to block a level 4 attack. Only dodging will save your life. But the guy immediately does the impossible. With one hand, he deflects a demonic projectile flying at high speed. And he throws it to the side. The shell explodes with incredible force, leaving a crater in the ground. Light is simply shocked. What he couldn't do, Shinji did with ease in 1 second. The boy asks again about Light's precaution, demonstrating composure at a critical moment of confrontation. Shinji confirms the girl's safety. Fua and the others ensured use protection while eliminating the threats. Shinji orders his ally to move towards the group, promising to join him after the enemy is eliminated. Now the enemies met again. Shinji stood before the demon and said that he did not understand who he was. After all, Yudo died at the hands of the main character. The creature insisted that it was Yudo, expressing outrage at Shinji's lack of recognition. Shinji asked him to shut up and said that he didn't want a dialogue. He came here to kill him. The main character promises a quick death without suffering, demonstrating confidence in victory. The creature provocatively asks Shinji if he is still as weak as he was when they met in the forest earlier. The monster displays absolute might, demanding confirmation of the terrifying scale of its current strength. The huge energy ball was instantly in Shinji's hands, but he was not impressed by the demon's power. With one swing of the sword, the demon's strongest attack was repelled and split in two. Yudo was simply in shock. After all, the attack that had knocked away his fear was now threatening his demonic life. But she passed by without touching Yudo, as if he wasn't there at all. The sky was full of nothing but bats fleeing the battlefield. Shinji was in shock. He didn't know that something like this could happen to him. The girl's panicked question about what was happening reflects the general confusion in the face of the abnormal event. An urgent request was made to Mika, whether she felt the same anomalous energy from the black cloud. Mika confirms. All the bats are moving towards the cloud in sync, as if they had received a single order. Natsuki refuses to believe the instrument readings, which are off the scale of measurable values. The alarming question is addressed to Natsuki, who has noticed catastrophic changes in the equipment readings. She classifies the celestial object as a super mutant level threat with the accuracy of the scanner data. Everyone was shocked. Anomaly level means monsters with minimal mutations, low threat, and low impact on the environment, not requiring the intervention of cultivators. High danger is assigned to creatures capable of causing large-scale destruction in populated areas. Their elimination requires coordination of mid-level cultivators. Super mutant, the highest threat level, capable of destroying small towns. The combined efforts of the strongest cultivators are required to neutralize it. Panic level describes monsters that threaten national security and are capable of destroying defenses. Requires full mobilization of all resources. The category end of the world means an existential threat to civilization. To counteract it, a global unification of all forces is necessary. Natsuki's unwavering belief in Shinji's return alive sounds like something that doesn't require confirmation. Yu is ordered to request reinforcements from Chairman Liu, as well as use his connections with his grandfather to help Shinji against the monster. At headquarters, unsuccessful attempts to call Captain Tomita by radio increase anxiety about the fate of the 2nd platoon in the affected area. Bats have been found to be able to block radio waves, which explains the loss of communication with entire units during an operation. Natsuki's grandfather's anxious question about her and the group's fate was heard amidst the chaos while communication remained unavailable. Someone noticed the bats moving in the same direction in sync, indicating that they were coordinating their actions. The tense question of what was to come hung in the air as the black cloud thickened over the city. Desperate attempts to call Captain Tomita by radio continued despite the signal being jammed. Communication with the 2nd platoon was suddenly restored after the mice disappeared from their deployment area. Captain Tomita reported an encounter with Level 2 mice that had been attacking the positions until recently. Confirmation was received. All units observed a mass gathering of creatures in a single point. An order was received for an urgent calculation of personnel losses after repelling the attack of the creatures. The headquarters received an emergency call from the commander's granddaughter with information of critical importance. And as soon as Grandpa picked up the phone, alarming information came from Natsuki. Natsuki warned her grandfather about the appearance of a super mutant in Amanami, demanding an immediate response. Everyone around the headquarters was shocked by such a statement and understanding of the threat. Deputy Commander Fuwa questions the veracity of the shocking situation report. Natsuki explains the bat's simultaneous disappearance as a transfer of energy to the central mutant in the black cloud. There is desperation in the voices of the staff. The fate of Amanami and its inhabitants seems sealed without immediate intervention. Everyone understood that without Level 5 cultivators, resistance was impossible, which doomed the city to inevitable destruction. Fuwa pronounces the threat classification, realizing the full scale of the impending disaster for the region. The commander mentally asks his granddaughter for forgiveness for the upcoming losses among the city's civilian population, but there is no other way. The granddaughter demonstrates an understanding of the tragic choice, acknowledging the lack of alternatives to save the country. An order has been received to use weapons of mass destruction to destroy the super mutant at any cost. Fuwa stresses the inadmissibility of the threat spreading to other cities, demanding complete localization of the strike. The advisor urges the commander to keep his cool and first of all organize the rescue of his granddaughter from the affected area. But suddenly Fuwa reminded him of his military duty. The priority must be to protect civilians at any cost. A resolute declaration of readiness for self-sacrifice is interrupted by a communication failure at a critical moment. Shinji's confused question about the device's operation shocked the office. The voice on the radio startled Fuwa. He couldn't believe that Shinji was back in touch after his supposed death. The guy sharply condemned the premature declaration of his death, recalling the promise he made to return alive. The main character's forecast sounded gloomy. The granddaughter would hate her grandfather for the destruction of the city with her participation. Shinji categorically rejected the bombing plan, promising to personally eliminate the super mutant without outside help. The incredulous exclamation emphasized the absurdity of the claim that it was possible to defeat a creature of such a level. Nobody in the office believed it. The guy confirmed the seriousness of his intentions, indicating the presence of a specific strategy for neutralizing the threat. Shinji offers the commander full cooperation as the only chance to save the city and his granddaughter at the same time. Subordinates await the commander's decision in confusion, relying entirely on his authority at a critical moment. The commander gives consent, requesting specific instructions for military personnel. The guy voices the only condition for his intervention that does not require combat resources. An unexpected demand was made. The army must fully compensate for the material damage from the upcoming battle. The monster enthusiastically absorbs the world's spiritual energy, feeling a complete restoration of vitality after being reborn. The creature celebrates its successful rebirth and evolution to the maximum 5th level of the boiling spring. An all-consuming confidence in his own invincibility fills the monster upon realizing his limitless power. A warning was given about Shinji's fatal mistake, underestimating the enemy in their first forest battle. He decided to demonstrate his power and activated the technique, releasing a huge bat right at the main character. The monster laughed and rejoiced at his imminent victory. But suddenly the voice broke off in mid-sentence while trying to point out something. The shock was reflected even in the headquarters. They looked at the cameras and devices and did not understand what it was. A huge beam of lightning energy pierced the demon's projectile and illuminated everything around with its blue light. The owner of this energy, Shinji, stood to the side and calmly watched everything that was happening. Someone from headquarters identified the legendary attribute of lightning, which manifests itself in the atmosphere in unnatural concentrations. The boy's power led to comparisons with a monster whose potential exceeded all expectations of observers. In the city, an announcement urged citizens to remain calm and wait for evacuation buses without panicking. But suddenly they were all illuminated by a glow of energy, and people were shocked. The townspeople attributed the recent energy surge to the actions of the cultivators, and were amazed at its scale. Eyewitnesses were amazed by the scale of the lightning, comparing it to fantastic special effect for movies. Yu confirms that the source of the attack was Captain Fuji, whose power exceeded all observers' expectations. How did he hide it for so long? The girl realizes the futility of trying to match Shinji even after reaching the 4th level of the boiling spring. Natsuki's exclamation of admiration emphasizes that Shinji has lived up to his reputation as an exceptional fighter. Shinji rises into the air on his energy and is already even higher than the super mutant. The guy announces a transition to active actions, demonstrating readiness to attack. The demon tried to do anything to stop the monster in human form in front of him, but he parried the blow with his sword and prepared to strike. Shinji activated the Thunder Flame Sword, Mountains and Rivers technique, combining the elements into a devastating strike. And he pointed it straight at the super demon, who tried to save himself from massive damage with his shield spell. But the huge red clot of energy easily broke the shield and was already crushing the monster, who was in shock and screamed from pain and an unexpected strong attack from an ordinary person. After this blow, he barely began to regenerate and was already thinking about his next steps, realizing that he would have to put in all his strength. He releases tendrils of energy from his back and prepares to strike Shinji with them. But the guy quickly dodged and then began to chop off the tentacles one by one. The demon blames the blade for his failures, claiming that he would have won long ago without this artifact. Shinji accepts the challenge, demonstratively giving up his sword for a barehanded duel. The monster takes this as a signal to attack, immediately going on the offensive with maximum force. And he aimed his pinpoint energy shot straight at Shinji's head. But here's the problem. The beam bounced off his impenetrable head like a bouncy ball. The monster's shock reached its limit. Its level 5 attack did not leave a scratch on the enemy, indicating a higher rank of power. The guy doubted that this was the ultimate power of the creature, saying that the demon was probably joking or really weak. Shinji declared the battle over here and now, eliminating the possibility of the opponent's further retreat. Despair was heard in the monster's cry. It was eager to absorb more energy for evolution to the 6th level and revenge. He fled the battlefield. His plan for revenge included reaching level 7 before returning, but his current defeat made that impossible. But the man prevented the escape, activating the Lightning Heaven technique to completely destroy the threat. The monster only had time to turn around. Suddenly, the final blow of the Royal Crush fell on the monster, leaving no chance for resistance. The creature's final cry expressed absolute disbelief in its own defeat at the hands of man. It was torn apart right in the air, leaving only lightning that struck with the same force around. The survivors were overwhelmed with jubilation. The super mutant had been defeated, and the city of Amanami and its inhabitants had been saved at the cost of incredible efforts. Shinji's lightning became a symbol of salvation, a light of hope that tore through the darkness over the city at a critical moment. Shinji is declared a symbol of hope for all of humanity, calling for urgent aid to be provided to those affected. A few days later, the hero is thanked for saving the city from a destructive threat. The military and authorities, through Liu, offer the guy to choose any award for his incredible feat and merits. And now Shinji says that he has one such wish. Shinji demands that the girls who have illegally occupied his house and are interfering with his life be immediately evicted. The man is particularly concerned about Mika's strange behavior, provoked by his neighbors. Liu thinks that every girl wants to be here, and apparently only Mika is interfering too much. The government official incorrectly concludes that the boy is hinting at the need for more housing. The official readily undertakes to solve the problem voiced by Shinji, promising personal involvement. The scene changes to a warm sunny day and a meeting headquarters. The meeting moves on to the main topic of discussion, the issue of rewarding the hero for the operation. Plans are underway to prepare a reward for Fuji Shinji for successfully suppressing the threat in Amanami. The option of providing the young man with spiritual energy resources to strengthen him as a super cultivator of the country is being considered. It is proposed to make the guy an online influencer for popularization, given his youth and potential. One participant sharply rejects the idea of influencerism, emphasizing Shinji's status as a national genius. An alternative is to give the man a high military position to train army cultivators. The meeting requests additional opinions on the proposed options for rewarding the hero. Suddenly, a voice is heard objecting to the current plans to reward Shinji. Those present recognize General Jinto and express surprise at his appearance at the meeting. Fuwa was shocked that he was not told about the outsiders at the meeting. General Jinto Sashi explains his presence by overhearing a conversation about a reward for the boy. Fuwa clarifies General Jinto's position regarding Shinji's proposed reward. General Jinto denies the need for a reward, calling the boy's victory luck and fortune. The officers are outraged by the general's words, citing video evidence of the significance of the feat. General Jinto harshly demands that one of the speakers be silenced, calling him an incompetent fool. Suddenly, Fuwa hits the table, and it emphasizes the impossibility of defeating a level 5 boiling spring monster by simple luck, and also reminds him that the decision on the reward is not within the purview of General Jinto personally. General Jinto declares an end to the dispute due to the fixation on the issue of the reward. It was decided to continue the meeting, requesting new proposals for rewarding the hero. It has been suggested that Shinji did not act for glory, making titles an unnecessary reward. The commander turns to meeting participant Liu for his opinion. Chairman Liu claims to have the advantage of a trusting relationship with Shinji and knows what he really needs. Liu grins and confirms that he received a direct and clear answer from the young man a few days ago. The assembly shows keen interest in the information voiced by Shinji, demanding details. According to the hero, the main problem is the girls who have settled in his house. He recalled that Mika's strange behavior under the influence of new neighbors was causing particular concern. It is concluded that the guy wants to get a spacious house to live together. Those present express surprise at such an unexpected, but logical and simple human request. But Fuwa had a hunch that the young man intended to evict the girls rather than live with them. But considering his granddaughter Natsuki's feelings for Shinji, he deliberately did not correct the misinterpretation. Grandfather decided to raise the issue of the availability of suitable real estate in Amanami City for Shinji. Jinto confidently declares that there is a ready-made version of ideal housing for a young man without any additional searching. Fuwa asked, "Where is this treasure located?" And Jinto suggested a specific location, a villa on Lake Ryokyo in the Keio district of Asami City. A reasonable question arises about the status of Asami City, which is under quarantine. There is information about anomalies of the 6th level of the boiling spring in the said area. Liu accuses General Jinto of deliberately harassing the hero through a dangerous mission. The general justifies the proposal by testing the boy's abilities for the right to receive the award. The commander directly asks General Jinto about his disagreement with his decision on the reward. The general denies the conflict, insisting on a personal verification of the lightning wielder's real powers. The scene changes back to Shinji's house. Representative Liu apologizes to Shinji for the problems with the reward due to interference. This is all explained by the military preparing a reward for the guy for the incident with the monster. The document confirms the transfer of a villa on Lake Ryokyo worth hundreds of millions. This shocks the main character. Liu thinks the guy is unhappy and says he is ready to replace the reward at any cost if he is unhappy. Shinji expresses shock at the cost of the gift, ruling out the possibility of refusing the villa. The young man confirms his consent to accept the offered expensive property and hides the document. The condition is revealed. Next to the villa, there is a lair of a 6th level mutant. The military asks the guy to eliminate the threat together with an entire platoon of soldiers. Shinji confidently rejects help, declaring that his own strength is sufficient for such a simple task. But Liu emphasizes the huge difference between the 5th and 6th levels of the boiling spring, and he should continue training to reach a high level, especially for such a young man given his young age. But Shinji calmly reports that he has reached the 7th level of the boiling spring, and Liu's jaw drops to the floor at this statement. The scene switches to a highway and a Gelenduigan, in which General Jinto is asked about the guy's real consent to the dangerous operation. A military officer emphasizes the difficulty of Green Lake, where the military suffered defeat for a month. Can 20-year-old do it? The general intends to test the boy's true abilities in combat conditions. The officer assumes that the victory in Amanami was just a beginner's luck. And if this is so, then the guy's absence from the ceremony can easily be explained by fear of being exposed to the veterans. The general smiles at his conclusions and says that the boy should learn from them, from the old military man. Suddenly, the secretary reminds him of the mission's priority over personal ambitions for the sake of Asami. They drive up to the golden gates of a luxurious mansion, and Shinji himself is already standing in front of them. The mayor's secretary, Tawako Sugita, introduces herself to Shinji when they first meet. The main character replies in kind and says it's nice to meet her. The boy is introduced to General Jinto and Lieutenant Tsuji, who are responsible for the operation. The general asks him about defeating that huge monster, and Shinji confirms defeating the level 5 monster in Amanami. The general expresses surprise at the hero's thin build instead of the expected muscles. Shinji ironically asks if monsters will be afraid of them, just because they are such muscular military men. Already enraged, General Jinto threatens the boy with death if the operation on Green Lake fails. The young man immediately retorts that he is practical and not afraid of death, unlike his interlocutors. Secretary Tawako intervenes in the conversation and urges everyone to calm down and cooperate within the villa for a common goal. Silence is taken as consent before roles in the operation are assigned. The secretary prepares to tell the further plan. It reveals the reason for the anomaly. Dark energy after the restoration of the Earth was placed here. The presence of a level 5 monster and 6 civilian casualties is announced to all those around. The secretary says that that's all and suggests that they take a rest. Shinji immediately suggests not to wait, but to begin the operation immediately after the briefing is completed. The general's assistant says that they have no plan, but the general says that he cannot leave Shinji alone. It's time to go. Shinji had already left and was moving further towards the threat. Opening the system window, he detects a third dark energy monster in a short period of time. There are a lot of them here. After the last mission, the guy received a new slot for choosing a strength attribute. A man decides between a dark and a light attribute for new abilities. Shinji reflects on his lack of experience with attributes in his past life. So it doesn't matter to him which one he chooses. The hero chooses a light attribute for healing, remembering the incident with you. The ability to heal will be very useful for him. Suji and the general were already behind him, criticizing the boy's actions without a prior plan. Shinji explains the impossibility of planning before studying the target up close. He is not a theorist, but a practitioner. The soldiers start shouting that the guy is not serious when the general notices a threat nearby. This danger turned out to be a huge red wolf monster, full of energy and anger. The general quickly attacked him, not allowing the possibility that the monster would hit any of his subordinates or comrades. And the wolf immediately retreated a couple of meters. The blow was strong. General Gento receives gratitude from his subordinate. If not for him, the boy would have faced death. The powerful mutant in front of the villa exceeds the military's expectations and strength. They haven't even entered the facility, and here are already powerful mutants. What's inside then? The general tells the others to admire him and watch him defeat the level 4 mutant dog. They entered into a fight with the dog, and the general parried all of the monster's blows, managing to deliver his own. Shinji looked at Gento with interest, and the sergeant was completely delighted with the general's strength. The fight continued, and now the general was delivering powerful kicks directly at the mutant dog. That's why the dog's whole face was beaten and there was blood coming out of its mouth. But she still stood in place, which surprised and angered the general. Shinji yawns and suggests continuing the mission and entering the villa building without delay. Suji was outraged by the boy's disregard for a level 4 threat fighting a general. But the young man silently reaches for the sword, takes it out, and fills it with energy. And then, with one blow, without much effort, he cuts the monster into 2 parts, thereby defeating it. The general was simply in shock. He clearly underestimated this kid. The young man announces his independent advancement, leaving the group behind. Shock grips the military. Shinji destroyed the monster with one blow during the retreat. General Gento realizes the danger of conflict with an unpredictably strong enemy. The decision is made to immediately apologize to the hero Fuji. At this time, he just enters the villa. And the huge space, without any signs of life, looks very strange in his eyes. And the most strange thing is the absence of the bodies of the 68 dead inside the villa building. Where are all these soldiers? Shinji approaches General Gento with an important question. The general is interested in the essence of the question asked by the boy. Shinji asks if the military removed the bodies of the dead from the villa. The general denies evacuating the bodies because of the fight against the threat inside the building, and asks, why is the main character interested in this? The guy suggests that the threat level in the villa has increased due to the lack of bodies, because they were clearly swallowed by something that was inside the villa, and it is clearly above level 5. Shown is a view of the villa from the side. Shinji suggests that the monster eats bodies, but the general clarifies their preferences. The main character says that they always wanted to absorb spiritual energy and eat the flesh of people. Despite the explanations, the group decides to remain extremely cautious. It is proposed to divide into groups to inspect the second floor and basement. And the military says that they will support Shinji's instructions as the most experienced here. As a result, Shinji takes the second floor, instructing the general and lieutenant to check the basement. He walks up the steps, and now, having entered the second floor, he walks along the corridor, opens one door and goes inside. He carefully closes the door behind him and moves on, looking around. Shinji notes one more thing: the absence of even bones at the scene of the tragedy. The guy considers using a new light attribute for research and activates it, and immediately discovers dark, demonic energy around. She rushes towards him, almost breaking through his protective barrier and eating his energy. Shinji grins. He finally found what he was looking for. Meanwhile, on the first floor, the boy shares with General Gento an anxious premonition about the development of the situation. A decision is made on maximum combat readiness for further advancement. At that very second, a red demon dog flies past them. They look up at him in shock, not understanding what to do. And while they were thinking, a huge explosion of red energy was heard in front of them. They braced themselves for the worst, sweat pouring down their faces. As fast as the saliva of the monster in front of them. Ugh, stupid demonic creature. The general calls upon his partner to launch a combined energy attack on the enemy. But the creature opened its mouth and began to emit stinking energy. She released it forward in huge wisps of deadly energy. She was fast and reached the general in a second, but he fought her off. The general was shocked by the force of the monster's blow. He barely parried it. With a cry of "Die!" another young soldier attacks the monster with utmost determination. A special wind combat technique is used. The blow was dealt to the demon. They finally got there. But Tsuji was shocked by the monster's incredible thickness of skin, blocking his best attacks. The monster became even more enraged by such impudence and was ready to eat the lieutenant, who was shaking with fear. The general shouts and swears to take revenge for the harm done to his subordinates. He attacks the monster with his bare hands, but it quickly hits him with its tail and throws it straight into the wall. A very strong blow that broke not only the general's ribs, but also the walls of the villa. Here the young soldier realized that it was his duty to avenge his general. Lieutenant Tsuji desperately prepares for another attack, ignoring the danger. General Gento demands that his subordinate stop his reckless actions. But suddenly a huge beam of lightning energy pierces right through the demon. The lieutenant only had time to raise his head up to see his savior. Shinji could be seen through the hole in the ceiling, energetically making fun of the protracted fight with a certain mutant dog. Gento was shocked by the destruction of the monster with one blow from the boy's hand. Shinji explains that the creature he defeated was not the main threat, just an ordinary monster. The military assumed that this monster was the main one in the villa building. The guy calls the defeated monster an avatar, avoiding complex explanations. Shinji suggests showing them the threat directly and transporting the group to the threat's actual lair. The light of his power illuminates and blinds everyone around him. A moment passes, and now they are in some strange place. In a place where a bunch of such dogs eat a lot of human bodies. Geno was simply shocked by this sight. Some of the monsters have already turned their attention to them. The rest continued to go about their business, having lunch. The general was in shock. He couldn't defeat even one enemy, and here there were many more of them. The army of monsters in the lair shocks the military with their numbers. Shinji explains the logic behind the large number of monsters in their headquarters. The general and his assistant announce that they will not move further. The army will come here and burn down their entire lair. Shinji explodes with determination, objecting to the fire, protecting his future villa. The guy assesses the monsters as weak, not seeing any difficulty in destroying them. He already takes out his sword. The hero announces his intention to end the threat with a single powerful blow. And he does it. The sweeping blow spins, and its force reverberates throughout the villa. This blow was called very stupidly, "Snow that comes home," some kind of nonsense. But it was amazing. From one swing, many monsters were really cut into pieces. The military is shocked by Shinji's destruction of the monsters with one blow. After the dust cleared, only the boys were visible. All the other monsters were dead. The general was amazed by the boys' strength, believing the villa to be cleared of the threat. Lieutenant Tsuji admits that he expected to die before the hero's intervention. Shinji clarifies that the monsters he defeated were only minor opponents. There are monsters in the villa anyway. General Gento is shocked by the monsters' insignificant strength and wonders how they managed to fight the small fry for so long. Then he reminds us about the threat level measurements. The main monster is level 5 and is much more dangerous. The guy also assumed the evolution of the main monster over the past month. The level is already above the 5th. Now the lieutenant began to have serious doubts about their chances against the increased threat. Shinji guarantees the safety of the group when they follow him, and all the other military are ready to obey him. Shinji commands the group to follow him as they move deeper into the villa. He activated his sword technique again, and many monsters were once again quickly turned into a mush of pieces of demonic flesh. The general watched from behind cover and was amazed by the display of the cultivator's true strength. There was a lieutenant nearby who felt useless due to Shinji's strength and speed of destroying opponents. How can they help him if he kills an entire floor of monsters in less than 10 minutes? Shinji, meanwhile, was making his way further and deeper, killing monsters one after another. Shinji detects a powerful energy signature coming from the villa's garden. The guy says that he is running further. His goal is to explore the backyard. The general was just trying to catch up with Shinji, who was moving forward at a rapid pace. As soon as he reached it, a red light illuminated him. What he saw only raised more questions. He saw a huge demonic heart. It looks really creepy. It was beating over the lake in the garden and radiating a huge amount of energy. The hero says that he has finally met the final boss of this quest and activated his most powerful mode. The lieutenant interrupts the boy's concentration, but the general demands silence. The power of the energy Shinji has collected causes fear in the military man. Is it really that dangerous? The general says that he has already seen so much energy once, and compares the monster's strength to Chairman Kenjo, a level 6 cultivator, a very strong fighter. The general realizes the scale of this battle, a battle of titans between Shinji and the monster. Suddenly, a hand with claws emerges from a huge egg or heart. The protagonist immediately uses the extreme polarization technique to counterattack. But with one blow, the flesh monster repels this attack. And finally, the monster broke free, and it turned out to be a huge phoenix bird. Pieces of demon flesh fell on everyone around. General Gento was shocked by the appearance of an unknown powerful monster. Shinji is glad that he has finally found a worthy opponent with great power. The bird immediately soared into the air and released a blast of energy, which didn't hit the main character, who quickly dodged the blows. Now the bird decided to launch an attack straight from its beak. Shinji notices an opening in the enemy's defense and uses a special wind technique through the discovered weakness. The hit was unmistakable. It was a powerful blow. The military cheers as Shinji's attack hits its target. The monster immediately decided to retreat from the battlefield after seeing the GG's power. But Shinji blocks the monster's escape route decisively. He jumps ahead of the bird and activates the flame lightning, mountain, and river single strike technique. And it also gives a continuous attack, leaving the bird no chance to even dodge. The demonic bird roared, and then a huge wave of Shinji's energy hit her, throwing her back. Next, the hero uses the final move, Lightning Cross Prayer, which was also precisely aimed straight at the target, the end of the demonic bird. The onlookers are amazed by the overwhelming power of the boy's true abilities. After his victory, Shinji finally claims the villa as its rightful owner. In front of us, we see a weakened monster bird, which is simply lying on the ground. Shinji prepares to destroy the monster by sending it to another world with a powerful blow. But suddenly something surprises him. A multitude of green energy fragments pierce the bird, very unexpectedly. The hero only managed to dodge, otherwise he would have been hit. The bird could only roar before dying. The military was delighted with the victory, but the guy said that it wasn't his equipment, which meant there was someone else there. The military was shocked. Shinji stepped forward and demanded that the hidden observer come out to them, as he had already detected traces of his energy. Suddenly, some kind of energy portal opened in front of them. The unknown began to emerge from it and confirmed Shinji's victory over the enemy. But when he had already fully recovered, he said that perhaps the main character shouldn't have killed him. The general recognizes the stranger as the chairman of the Kinmo Cultivators Association and asks, "What is he doing here?" Shinji was shocked that they knew each other, and the general explained to him who Kinmo was, a 6th-level fighter. The general also introduces him to the genius cultivator Shinji from Tenkai as the executor of the army's order. Despite this, Kinmo asks to spare the monster's life, offering to use the monster for military research with their consent. The general agreed, but Shinji rejected Kinmo's right to decide the monster's fate and dictate his thoughts. But suddenly the military reminds us of Kinmo's financial support for operations in Asami and his status. Kinmo's merits in saving soldiers with light spiritual energy are emphasized. Kinmo offers Shinji to tame the monster instead of killing it for the sake of friendship with humanity. He proclaims the philosophy of influencing all beings with love and spiritual energy. But as soon as Kinmo enters the monster's sight, Shinji fires his beam at the bird. More precisely, not even at the bird, but somewhere in the other direction. He launched his punch at Kinmo. Apparently his words did not resonate in the GG's heart. The guy activated his green cube energy, and thus he blocked the blow and began to absorb its power. Kinmo clenched his fist tightly, and he broke this energy of the main character's blow in front of him. Kinmo recognizes the young man's strength by watching his actions. The scientist demands an explanation for Shinji's actions. With a choice, does he want to fight him? Or is he simply betraying humanity? The guy promises to provide the reason for his actions if Kinmo wants to know so badly. The first reason is announced. The monster must die for killing many people. Shinji states the second reason. He does not obey anyone's orders, and Kinmo has no right to command him. The guy emphasizes the main factor by squeezing the sword. He points at the guy and talks about the abnormal monster energy that began to emanate from Kinmo when he appeared. The soldiers asked, "What does he mean? What kind of energy?" The main character then discovered a strange reaction of the monster, a greater fear of the scientist Kinmo than of the killer Shinji. Kinmo, however, says that they are both human and also explains the naturalness of fear through the cage he created to contain it. But while they were doing all this, Shinji used light energy to view the monster's memory. Kinmo was shocked by Shinji's stated abilities. The soldiers were also shocked by such abilities. Shinji explains that he gained the ability to read memories when he defeated a monster in Tenkai. Since then, he has been reading memories through spiritual energy. Kinmo categorically rejects the guy's statement as absurd, but he shows them his capabilities by approaching the bird. This caused pain to the monster, but that was okay. That was how it should be. Everyone watched in amazement at the abilities of the main character's light energy. Now he had finally penetrated the monster's memory and could show it to others. Everyone around was in shock. The main character's words were confirmed. Shinji delves into the monster's memory and energy implantation methods. Kinmo became very sad and looked at the main character's back. And finally, unable to bear it any longer, he launched a blast of his green energy at him. The guy smiles because he finally provoked the bastard to attack. He turns and hits back, exclaiming that he thought so. Their energies were against each other and clashed almost like swords. The general, horrified, demands an explanation from Kinmo about his actions with the monster. But now, after they have seen everything, Kinmo decides to kill the witnesses after his activities are exposed. Shinji directly asks Kinmochi about raising a bird-like monster in the villa. The military defends Kinmochi, reminding him of his help in helping the military eliminate threats. But the guy asks, do they believe their arguments in his favor? In favor of this hypocritical bastard. The boy questions the story, pointing out the monster's survival before they arrived. Shinji accuses Kinmochi of cruelty remembering the monster's violent trembling when he appeared. Kinmochi praises Shinji's intelligence and acknowledges the creature's cultivation, but states that it is for defensive purposes rather than killing. The general was shocked by this, and yet he believed him. But the mad scientist clarifies the purpose of creating the monster as protecting people, not destroying them. General Gento is furious and blames Kinmochi for the deaths of his fellow soldiers during the liberation of Isekai. Kinmochi justifies the soldiers' deaths by accelerating the monster's evolution from level 3 to level 6. The junior lieutenant furiously accuses the chairman of using the military as guinea pigs. Kinmochi despises the lower class's lack of understanding of his grand plans. They have always been guinea pigs. He explains his ultimate goal, to use the monster against other threats to save the soldiers. A study of evolution is proposed to improve the training of cultivators under control. And now the monster is under his control. Everything is in his hands, just as he wanted. Now Kinmo ends the discussion by announcing his intention to kill all witnesses. Now, this madman released a huge beam of green energy, similar to the one our MC has. The system detects a powerful source of light energy for immediate absorption. And now the guy, having received the ability to absorb energy, comes up with his new plan. He throws his hand straight towards the clot of energy and quickly begins to absorb it. The soldiers were shocked by this and ran to his aid. But Kinmo was already making his new deadly gesture, thus sealing the two soldiers in place, preventing them from moving further and fighting. Kinmo smiles and says that now all he needs is to hear their screams of death. At that moment, he began to pierce their bodies with his green spears. The general was at the end of his strength. Apparently, the first witnesses of Kinmo's atrocities would soon die. Kinmochi proclaims punishment for people for perceiving him as a villain. But Shinji finally activated his powerful phase, and there was a lot of energy around him. The screen displays skill levels. Now all skills are level 2. The guy happily notes the good decision to come here. Shinji rejoices. Getting a house is accompanied by a significant increase in his combat level. It takes off right behind the mad scientist, and then attacks him with a bunch of energy. Half of the attack was also aimed at freeing the military from the captivity of green energy. The general exclaims Fuji-san's name in relief, acknowledging his salvation at the critical moment. Shinji orders him to stay put, assuring him that the current fight will be quickly concluded. Kinmochi is confused and asks how Shinji maintains freedom of movement within a light barrier. Shinji, meanwhile, scoffed at the idea that a level 6 weakling could hold him back. The boy ironically thanks Kinmochi for leveling up and sends a counterattack as a sign of appreciation. Kinmochi is outraged by the suggestion that he will be defeated by Shinji and demands a show of strength by challenging the younger opponent. And at this time, he sends his new green attack straight at the main character. But he quickly interrupts her by attacking with his explosive attack, eclipsing everything and everyone around him. Shinji launched his energy dragon through the scientist's attack, quickly canceling it out. Kinmo was shocked by Shinji's strength. But after a couple of seconds, I was shocked by the incredible speed. He is overcome with rage at the inability to keep up with the guy or even dodge his attack. Shinji is confident that his next blow will be irresistible to the off-balance Kinmochi. After this, all that was left of the guy was a red spot. After the fight, he landed carefully on the ground. Shinji was disappointed with Kinmochi's level. He found the peak level 6 Wakusen pathetic and weak. Humiliated, Kinmochi furiously vows to kill Shinji, screaming his name with hatred. Kinmochi is furious at Shinji's actions. He's just furious. He vows to demonstrate the true power of the 6th level of Wakusen in return. The seal appeared in the sky right in front of the main character. Shinji coldly assesses Kinmochi's strength. Even at his peak, he poses no threat to him. Kinmo's powerful attack is called Holy Justice and is aimed at the protagonist. And many rays flew out from that very heavenly seal. But Shinji easily repels them with one attack in return. which makes the green bastard even more angry. He quickly walked around the main character and jumped on him from above with a dagger and a cry of die. Suddenly the dagger changed from a small sword into a huge sword like Guts from Berserk, or even bigger. The impact was so powerful that it almost exploded the ground beneath it. But Kinmo did all this very slowly and for a very long time. Shinji easily parries Kinmochi's attack, his movement leaving his opponent far behind in speed. And the main character's enemy crashes into the ground with force. Even in the face of death, Kinmochi refuses to admit defeat and vows to defeat Shinji at any cost. He gets up and is filled with that fiery energy again. His skin was completely covered in seals and symbols. Wings began to sprout from his back, turning him into a monster. A desperate Kinmochi challenges Shinji, unleashing his most powerful finishing attack on the boy. Shinji challenges Kinmochi to test his opponent's strength against his blade in a decisive clash. The legendary Thunder Sword style, the ultimate technique of slashing heaven and earth, is used for the final attack. Our main dragon's dragon clashed with the Kinmo monster, and the GG's energy dragon was clearly stronger. Kinmo flew away, and then he hit the ground with force from the GG's blow, the end of his crazy story. Kinmochi has a hard time accepting Shinji's superiority, denying the very possibility of losing to a weaker opponent. He asks in horror if the boy has surpassed level 6. Shinji coldly retorts, Kinmochi's peak power is negligible. Shock overwhelms Kinmochi upon discovering the truth. Shinji has already reached the unimaginable 7th level of power. Kinmochi does not believe in the speed of the boy's growth. Shinji, referring to the plans, announces the immediate dispatch of the enemy to the afterlife. A defeated Kinmochi clings to life, muttering about unfinished business before his inevitable end. Shinji demands full accountability from Kinmochi for all the crimes he committed before the final blow. He activates his full power to deal the final blow to Kinmo's life. The guy is sure that only death will change the distorted worldview and cruelty of the defeated opponent. The soldiers are shocked by the speed of Shinji's victory over Kinmochi. The boy's incredible strength causes everyone to be amazed. Shinji suggests checking the bird monster's condition. The general immediately agrees and points in the direction. There's also a bird lying there, which is still pierced by Kinmo's energy. General Gento insists on destroying the dangerous creature, approaching Shinji with a direct proposal. Shinji counters by calling the monster a victim of Kinmochi's experiments instead of the source of evil. He approaches him and directs his light energy at him. The monster immediately starts screaming. The soldiers were shocked when they saw what GG was doing. The boy calms the creature down, promising to help and telling it that he won't act like Kinmo. After these words, the monster was calm. She bows before him with a smile, and the guy completes his act. Finally, we saw the true nature of the monster, an ordinary owl bird, not at all evil. Everyone is amazed by the transformation of the wounded monster into an ordinary owl after using Shinji's energy. The lieutenant, completely perplexed, demands an explanation for such an unexpected metamorphosis of the creature. Shinji honestly admits to not understanding the process. The light energy treatment has led to a change. The boy remembers Shinji's ability to see the past and asks him to find the reason for the transformation. Shinji reveals the deception. His claim of seeing the monster in the past was a lie to manipulate Kinmochi. The military are shocked by the revelation. They recall the images shown. The guy explains the projection of his memories. Shinji is pleased with the success of the deception. He declares the matter closed and suggests that everyone return home. The guy mentions urgent matters, villa renovations, etc. The lieutenant asks in surprise about the fate of his pet owl. Shinji does not plan to keep the owl as a pet, but notes its obedience. He considers it as a possible guard for the yard. He suggests an alternative. Perhaps the military could take care of the unusual creature? The military politely declines due to budgetary concerns. They emphasize Shinji's achievements in restoring the bird and its affection for him. Shinji reassures the general. explaining that the question of handing over the bird to the military was only a suggestion, not a demand. The guy decides to take the owl to see how his neighbors react. If there are any objections, he will turn to the military again. The scene moves to another headquarters. Commander Furuwa angrily accuses the Cultivators Association. He is furious about the experiments on soldiers and the growing of a monster. The association's representative denies any involvement, claiming he knew nothing about Kinmochi's actions. Furuwa counters that Kinmochi's veteran status is no excuse for inaction. It was precisely this kind of laxness that led to the disaster. The official justifies his role as an ordinary civilian. He insists that the cultivators run the association autonomously. The commander reveals their true intentions. Without Shinji's intervention, the association planned to shift the blame onto the military. The representative of the association justifies his inaction by citing Kinmochi's level. His civil status prevented him from opposing the cultivator. The official begs Furiva for understanding. A conflict with the military or the association threatens him with the loss of his position. The commander rejects the excuses. He demands to answer for the deaths of soldiers to their families, denying the official's position. Furuwa announces a total interrogation of all members of the Cultivators Association by the military, starting today. The military threatens to use military law if he refuses to cooperate. The official is ordered to prepare for the consequences. The association's representative gives in. He promises full cooperation, begging only to preserve the organization's reputation. Furuwa accepts the surrender on condition of the cultivator's complete submission. The official confirms his agreement. The scene switches to Shinji's old house. He just returned home, and a couple of hot girls greet him, worried about Shinji's possible injuries after the fight. Shinji returns home. He is greeted, and for the first time, he feels the pleasant feeling of family warmth. The boy decides to become stronger. The goal is to protect his new way of life and the family connections he has found. Natsuki notices Shinji's absent-mindedness and asks what happened. The guy explains how to successfully subdue the creature and tame the owl as a pet. He was shocked by the pet. How is this possible? And Shinji decided to demonstrate it. He called her with a whistle. The appearance of a small owl causes surprise among those present at the first glance at the bird. Girls admire the cuteness of the owl, loudly expressing their emotions when they get to know it closely. Another girl is interested in the origin of the bird, noting its extraordinary cuteness. Shinji briefly reports finding an owl at the villa during a mission, hinting at its struggle for survival. The girl assumes that the bird has a strong will to live, given the place where it was found. The guy reveals the owl's past. She was a level 6 monster before her recent transformation. The girls are shocked by what they heard. Now the owl is not so cute. They demand immediate confirmation of such incredible information. Shinji confirms his previous answer. Yes, that creature was indeed a level 6 monster. The girls are in panic. The little owl seems to them to be a deadly former monster. Natsuki freezes in panic, fearing an owl attack. Shinji reassures her, pointing out the creature's lack of aggression. The guy turns the conversation to his neighbor's training. He highlights their poor progress in cultivation as the main problem. Natsuki and you justify their slow growth. They lament their inability to match a genius like Shinji. Shinji sternly demands that training be intensified. He warns that his help in the future may not be able to prevent disaster. The guy announces the need for rest after completing a difficult mission and negotiations. The scene cuts to a building at night. Inside the apartment, news spreads. The strongest cultivator, Asamai Kinmochi, has been found dead under unclear circumstances. One of them calls death karma for murders. Another one is shocked. How did a level 6 cultivator die? A version appears about Kinmochi meeting a level 7 monster. Such a creature could defeat even the strongest. The third interlocutor hits him on the head and curses a level 7 monster would threaten the entire city. Its existence puts all residents at risk. The main question remains unanswered. If not a monster, Then what or who could have killed such a powerful cultivator? They turned around at the moment because it was time for the main news. Rumors linked Kinmochi's death to a mysterious cultivator from Tenkai. The same person had previously resolved the crisis in that city. The townspeople are shocked by the news. They doubt the existence of such a powerful fighter in Tenkai. General Jindo interrupts the soldiers' conversation. He is interested in the reason for the noisy discussion during the changing of the guard. The soldiers justify it with ordinary conversation over drinks. They emphasize the harmlessness of the conversation during the change of duty. Jindo sternly reminds us of secrecy. The Tenkai cultivator's data is a closely guarded military secret. The soldiers confirm the general's order. Their response is clear and immediate after the warning. The general demands confirmation of understanding of the order. Having received it, he allows the soldiers to leave their post. Jindo reflects on Shinji's power, highlighting the lack of understanding of the true extent of Shinji's power. The general realizes Shinji's influence. Such a person is capable of changing the geopolitical position of the entire nation in the world. The scene shifts back to the house. Fua's granddaughter Natsuka sits at her laptop, bored. The news about the mysterious strongest cultivator Shinji Fuji, who fought off Tenkai in the military, is going viral online. She is happy about this event. The reaction on social media was divided. Some praised Shinji as a hero, while others accused him of staging and demanded proof of strength. A level 7 cultivator from Sekko announces a challenge to Shinji in a tournament to expose the supposed deception. Users are fueling the conflict by demanding that King Sekko go public if he defeats Shinji. Natsuki is outraged by King Sekko's overconfident statements about his future victory over Shinji. He notices Natsuki talking to herself and asks her why she is doing this. The girl talks about Shinji being publicly challenged by a level 7 cultivator at a martial arts tournament. Yu is surprised by the news of the tournament. Natsuki admits that she also recently learned about the event. Jindo initiated a national tournament to determine the strongest cultivator and motivate others to train. Natsuki passionately asks the boy to win the tournament while rushing him with the food she bought. Shinji emphasizes the high cost of the food he bought for the owl, demonstrating his generosity. But the owl refuses such an urge. The guy strictly tells the owl to either catch the prey itself or silently eat the offered food. Natsuki switches to the main topic. She asks the guy about his knowledge regarding the martial arts tournament. Shinji declines to participate in the tournament. The reasons are lack of interest and being busy with other things. Natsuki is shocked by the decision. She insists that the tournament is more important than any other matter for a cultivator of his level. The guy cites the urgent renovation of the villa in Asami as the only priority worth his time and effort. Shinji threatens to move out if Natsuki continues to turn his house into a hotel without his consent. Someone from the entourage asks in horror, "Is it true that Shinji will not participate in the tournament?" The same man demands an explanation for the guy's unexpected refusal to attend an important event. Another meeting. The guy quotes Commander Furuwa, "Villa renovation is more important than the tournament." King Sekko is glad there is no strong opponent. Fukuhara notes that Shinji's withdrawal from the tournament will make it easier for the organizers to hold the event. Fuwa demands an explanation from Fukuhara about the hidden meaning behind his words regarding the guy's absence from the competition. Fukuhara insists that he is right, claiming that he was merely stating an obvious organizational fact. He explains the position: fewer participants, fewer problems. Fuwa sharply cuts off such statements. The commander reveals the goals of the tournament: to develop cultivators and find talent for international challenges. The officer reminds Shinji of his character. Patriotic slogans will not interest this guy. The commander acknowledges the problem. The country will suffer huge losses without the participation of such a strong fighter. The proposed solution is to attract the guy with rare resources for cultivation as a reward for victory. Doubt is heard in response. The military only has zones of low-level spiritual energy. The final argument is that Shinji is a level 7. Such prizes are too weak for his needs. Lu suddenly offers Fuwa an unconventional solution to the problem of attracting Shinji to the tournament. Commander Fuwa shows interest, demanding immediate details of the proposed plan. The officer reminds that there are dangerous mutation zones in Asami in addition to Greensleen Lake. An idea is being floated. The tournament participants will clear out the super mutant zone in Asami as part of the competition. The commander thinks about it and then makes a decision. Furuwa and Lu assess the potential. Success will restore the city and shock the global cultivator community. The military approves the plan, but the official categorically rejects such a risky initiative. The official protests in panic, fearing personal responsibility for possible catastrophic consequences. As a compromise, it is proposed to move the tournament to the safe neighboring city of Seiko. Furuwa urges Fukuhara to remain calm, acknowledging the boldness of Yanagi's proposal, but rejecting his immediate refusal. Military security measures are proposed. Fukuhara vehemently rejects them, recalling the past failures of such plans. Fukuhara pleads for the tournament to be cancelled, citing retirement age. Furuwa accuses him of being passive as the head of the association. Fukuhara surrenders, realizing the futility of resisting Commander Furuwa's decision. He gives his final consent to hold the tournament, realizing the futility of further objections. Furuwa thanks Yanagi for the strategic proposal, affirming it as the basis for future actions. The commander announces the next stage, the formation of an executive committee to organize the tournament. Lu thinks that you will receive encouraging news. Perhaps traces of her missing parents will soon be found. The scene shifts to a nighttime scene of Shinji's house. He sat at home, full of energy and ready to train further. Almost at the limit of his strength, he is pumped up with more and more energy. Shinji reaches the 9th level of spiritual spring. The last step remains before breaking through to the Iron Vein. The scene changes again to the main character's house for the umpteenth time. He is reading on the sofa, and suddenly he is distracted and guests call him. Shinji is surprised by the early visit. He greets Mrs. Sujita, whom he has not seen for a long time. The guy asks the reason for Sujita's early visit. She came on business related to a military award. Sujita explains the purpose, the delivery of the reward, and the signing of documents. Shinji politely invites her into the house. Mrs. Sujita presents military documents, the transfer of the villa, the estimate for repairs, and an application for benefits. She asks to sign papers to complete the formalities. The military will take care of the rest of the procedures. Sujita mentions an additional important issue that requires separate discussion with the guy. Shinji suggests that the question is related to the martial arts tournament. He asks for more details on the case, admitting his earlier inattention. Sujita confirms that the tournament will take place in the super mutant danger zone of Asami, classified as an anomaly. The boy is shocked by the level of threat in the city. Sujita explains the crossing of ley lines as the cause of the anomalies. The excess spiritual energy after its restoration created multiple danger zones throughout Asami. Shinji realizes the connection between the ley lines and Asami's problems. Shurgita confirms that rebuilding the city will benefit all practitioners. Sujita reveals data about ultra-pure lightning energy in the super mutant zone where the tournament will be held. The guy reacts sharply to the mention of the energy of the lightning attribute, asking again for clarification of the information. Mrs. Sujita confirms the high concentration of energy. She hands over documents with detailed studies. Shinji accuses the military of setting a trap and sees the tournament as bait to use his power. Sujita panically denies any malicious intent. She tries to explain the true purpose of organizing the event. The guy reassures her. He agrees to study the documents before making a decision about participating in the tournament. Sujita thanks you for your understanding and offers ongoing support for any questions regarding the awards. Some time passed, and the main character interrupts the silence by announcing dinner, addressing everyone present in the house. Someone in the household complains of drowsiness, demonstrating fatigue after a long day. He was also sleepy. They walk into the living room and ask, "What are these documents on the table?" Shinji studies the tournament materials from the military and the reward documents for the previous mission that were delivered in the morning. Natsuki asks if his grandfather gave him a military rank as a reward. The guy explains the modesty of the reward, documents for a villa, and an estimate. The girl is outraged by her grandfather's stinginess. One villa is not enough for Shinji's services to the country. Natsuki decides to ask her grandfather for more land. Shinji interrupts her, demanding that she immediately wash up and go to breakfast. While they were fighting, Yuzai caught something interesting. The documents were written in bold, interesting font. She was shocked by what she found in the tournament records. In the documents, Natsuki discovers a shocking detail. The tournament will be held in the anomaly where her parents disappeared. She suspects the military of deliberately concealing information about the location's connection to the family's disappearance. The girl asks herself a fatal question. Perhaps the military fears that the truth about the fate of her parents will be revealed? While Natsuki is brushing her teeth, the MC looks through the door at the girl studying the documents. Shinji notices Yu's awareness of the anomaly's connection to her parents' disappearance through the document she studied. But for now, the guy decides to protect Natsuki from dangerous information, considering her unprepared for the truth about the fate of the family. He stands on the balcony at night and continues to study these papers. Documents confirm that Natsuki's parents disappeared in the lightning labyrinth after 5 days of searching. Their fate is unknown. Shinji informs Shurgita of his agreement to the tournament, who sincerely thanks him for such an important decision for the military. The guy sharply criticizes the military's methods, cutting off his sentence to emphasize his dissatisfaction with their actions. He accuses the command of counting on Yu's reaction. Knowing about her parents would have guaranteed her participation in the tournament. Sujita denies manipulation, calling it a coincidence. Shinji openly doubts the veracity of her words. She suggests passing on the complaints to the management. The guy demands that the military stop making standard excuses. Shinji ends the conversation with a harsh ultimatum. Regardless of the military's plans, their methods are unacceptable. The dialogue ends, and he silently walks back into the room. On the sofa, he sees Yu sleeping. He looked at the table in front of her, and I realized that she had fallen asleep while studying the documents. Shinji walked up to her and covered her with a blanket, wishing her good night. He goes to sleep in his room and says that he will definitely find her parents. The scene changed, and now Shinji drove up to the right place in his car. The military urgently warns everyone, "Attention, Mr. Fuji himself has arrived. Current affairs must be stopped immediately." The soldiers rush to organize the meeting, calling on their colleagues to quickly greet the important guest. The atmosphere is tense. The military greet Fuji in unison, expressing deep respect for his presence. The respect is evident on their faces. The guy is embarrassed by the ceremonial meeting and asks not to worry. He is not used to such attention from the military. The general insists on the importance of the reception, rejecting the modesty of the guest. The soldiers consider this the minimum gratitude. He recalls Fuji's feat against the monster, which saved many lives. The guy modestly calls it duty. The soldier emphasizes the impact of the Kenmochi incident on the army. The entire garrison has great respect for Shinji. Someone asks again about the legendary blow that killed Kenmochi in one move. Doubt is mixed with admiration. The man clarifies, the enemy was cunning, but not incredibly strong. His victory did not seem like something supernatural. The soldiers react with admiration to Fuji's modesty. This is exactly the reaction one would expect from a true master of his level. The guy orders the soldiers to stop the crowd. The girl in the car advises Shinji to get used to this kind of attention as a new reality. The boy compares himself to a collectible rarity. Now he heads forward, mentioning the need to talk to Chairman Yanagi. The man asks Gento about Yanagi's whereabouts. The commander points him in the direction of an important discussion with the chairman. Jinto briefly directs Shinji to the right place, the gesture accompanied by minimal explanation. They pass by huge military tents. Liu emphasizes the high risks of the anomaly. A strict selection of participants is required due to the many unknown threats. Shinji greets Chairman Yanagi. The phrase states the fact that they have met long ago without any emotional overtones. Yanagi invites the boy to sit down. The chairman inquires about the purpose of Shinji's visit for further discussion. The man mentions information from Sijida. He connects the chairman with organizing a tournament in the danger zone. Yanagi acknowledges Shinji's possible displeasure. The chairman justifies his decision by citing a lack of alternatives. Yanagi reveals the truth about you. She holds on during the day, but at night she cries bitterly over her missing parents. The chairman admits that he tried to save Yu's family with the help of the army and his personal resources. All efforts were in vain. 5 military expeditions led by Yanagi have failed with heavy losses. He asks Shinji to inspire the tournament participants. Yanagi apologizes for pressuring her. The chairman takes full responsibility, begging them not to blame the ignorant Natsuki. Shinji demands to address him directly from now on. The guy rejects any manipulation through third parties or hidden schemes. Yanagi is taken aback by Shinji's directness. The chairman asks again, hoping for a hidden meaning in his harsh words. The man calls you a friend. Helping a friend does not require justification or complicated explanations. It is natural. The chairman explodes with emotional gratitude. He swears eternal debt to the unexpectedly responsive guy. The scene changes, and the official host loudly welcomes the tournament participants. The long-awaited event in the world of cultivators begins. The organizer voices the main goal of the competition, to help everyone evaluate their strength and find motivation for new achievements. The presenter announces the start of the briefing. Participants will have to learn the key rules of the upcoming entry into the anomalous zone. The organizer specifies the location, a super mutant anomaly in Asami. The threat level requires extreme caution from all fighters. The man explains the nature of his zone, a ley line intersection saturated with lightning energy. A neighbor in the crowd introduces himself as Shizumiya from Flitsu. Shizumiya comments admiringly on Shinji's appearance. He was glad that the legendary saint's sword turned out to be an ordinary guy without any arrogance. Shizumiya reveals Shinji's nickname, the Sword Saint, came from rumors of a single blow that crushed Kinmochi. The boy sheepishly asks to stop talking about the title. Shizumiya is surprised by his ignorance of his own fame. Shinji asks about the purpose of the conversation. Shizumiya suddenly remembers the important question he was going to ask initially. The stranger suggests uniting inside the anomaly. He directly asks Shinji about going through the danger zone together. The girls around him are amazed by the proposal. One of them asks again if he is really worthy of an alliance with a legend. Shinji suspects the Flitsu Association of organizing an alliance. He directly asks Shizumiya about hidden orders from above. Shizumiya asks for secrecy. He looks around nervously before revealing the true circumstances of his involvement. The man admits that the association sent him for the quota. He honestly admits to the lack of real power, causing bewilderment. Shinji is outraged by this approach. Shizumiya counters that the management is only interested in the formal filling of the lists. Shizumiya shrugs. People like him are used for their looks, even though they're completely out of their league. Shinji looks at his interlocutor appraisingly. The phrase about conformity to appearance causes a skeptical reaction in him. Shizumiya clutches his head in panic. He is frankly afraid of death, realizing his absolute unpreparedness for the anomaly. Shizumiya begs for protection, hoping that an alliance with the legendary Shinji will give him some chance of survival within the zone. Shizumiya's teammates angrily condemn his cowardice. Natsuki finds it shameful for such weak fighters to participate in a serious tournament. Shizumiya tries to calm the girl down. She stands her ground. The truth should be spoken openly, not whispered behind her back. Natsuki sets one condition. Shizumiya must not interfere with the group. Any delay will result in an immediate separation. Shizumiya swears by perfect discipline. He guarantees complete obedience to orders and the absence of the slightest burden on the team. Shinji's companion whispers a suggestion. Perhaps they should allow Shizumiya to join their group for the sake of everyone's peace of mind. She argues her position. The guy's lack of hidden motives makes him a safe travel companion. The risk seems minimal. The man gives his final consent. The stern warning is repeated. Selfishness or recklessness will lead to immediate expulsion. Shizumiya thanks Shinji and the girls. He vows to act as carefully as possible, avoiding any problems for the team. Suddenly, an official announcement is heard across the court. The first annual martial arts tournament is declared open. The main event is about to begin. The scene changes to a vast desert, the future battlefield. From the huge portal, the most powerful cultivators began to emerge, ready to take part in the tournament. Shinji and his group have already landed. The rest move forward. The ruined streets of Asami shock the participant. He attributes the devastation to a super mutant anomaly. The companion explains the monster's ability to change the landscape to suit themselves. Mika turns to Shinji for a command. She looks at him questioningly, waiting for a decision on the group's next steps inside the danger zone. A sudden scream fills the air. The pillar they're standing on begins to shake. The weakest of the group desperately calls for help, caught off guard by an unseen threat in the ruins of the city. Shinji warns everyone sternly. He demands constant combat readiness, forbidding the slightest relaxation in this deadly anomaly. Suddenly, monsters begin to emerge from the sand, and as soon as they were fully formed, they immediately ran forward towards our group. A sharp command to fight is heard from the man. The group reacts instantly, taking up fighting stances in the face of an unexpected attack. Suddenly, someone counterattacks. His technique is flame illusion, and creates a fire barrier that holds back attacking mutants as they approach the group. Everyone was in shock. A mysterious stranger calls out Shinji's name. He recognizes the legendary fighter in the chaotic battlefield of the Asami ruins. The man demands the name of the intruder. His cold gaze assesses the potential threat that interrupted the fight with the mutants. The stranger introduces himself as Koji Hojime. He reminds us of his challenge left on the tournament notice board a few days ago. Natsumi is shocked to recognize the title. She exclaims, confirming the stranger's identity as the infamous King Seiko. Koji Hojime directly challenges Shinji. He mentions his message on the board, expecting an immediate duel right in the anomaly zone. The guy categorically declines the challenge. Shinji refuses to waste time on a duel, suggesting that his opponent leave the dangerous territory. Koji mockingly doubts Shinji's legendary feat, suggesting that the story of one strike against Kenmochi is a military hoax. Koji advises his opponent to train harder. The man promises to accept the challenge later, when he is truly ready for a serious fight. Natsuki is ready to join the fight in Shinji's place. The guy stops her, reminding her of the priority of the mission in the anomalous zone. Shizumiya describes the harrowing flight with Koji. Shinji ignores the comment, leading the group towards the mountain after a brief readiness check. Yu's silent plea echoes in the air. The girl looks anxiously into the distance, hoping for the rescue of her missing parents. And now they are already flying to this new important location. Shinji points out the anomaly sharply. His warning of strange activity interrupts the squad's progress towards the target. They fly into a strange cave and descend into its depths. Yu analyzes the battlefield evidence. The damage indicates an attack by a mutant with fire abilities. The guy decides to explore the area. He orders the group to enter the structure for a detailed examination of the find. The further they went inside, the more alarming it became. Therefore, the longer they walked, the more they looked around. A sudden scream fills the air as a group member points in horror at an approaching unidentified threat from deep within the anomaly. They see huge monsters and a bunch of cultivators, living and dead, all fighting here in this chaos. Many lost very quickly. Others held out longer, but were still killed quickly by the monster's special techniques. Some fled the battlefield and begged for help. Many were lucky, but some people did not manage to escape. Suddenly, one of the fugitives looks up and concentrates his attention. Someone recognizes the figure in the smoke. A voice cries out Fuji's name hopefully, identifying the arrival as the savior. Relief washes over the group at the sight of Fuji. Confidence returns. His presence guarantees safety. The man looks at the monster and identifies the monster as a level 4 creature. Shinji turns to Natsuki and Mika, pointing out their ice techniques as the perfect weapon against this monster to gain combat experience. And they immediately headed straight towards the monster in order to defeat it. The monster had already directed its fiery beam at them. Mika uses the ice barrel technique. It saves her from the beam. Yu goes around the monster from behind and counterattacks. Her ice spike technique forms sharp ice structures to strike a target. And all the spikes hit the target. Huge ice flows were sticking out from the legs of this creature. The monster began to scream in pain. Yu's attack continued, and now she was back behind the nasty monster. Yu uses her new technique, Sky Flight, which accompanies her aerial maneuver during a joint attack with Mika. And it comes in very handy, causing great damage to the monster. Mika activates the ice spear technique at this time, and he throws it straight at the demon, piercing him right through. And it was this blow that put an end to the monster's life. He literally crumbled before everyone's eyes. The spectators watched the fight in delight. Their exclamations compare what is happening to a divine spectacle of incredible power. Shinji comments on the importance of recognition. He emphasizes the value of demonstrating strength to the entire team, not just himself. The gaze falls on an unusual artifact. A guy discovers a fire crystal, and he rushes towards him at full speed because he understands that he is capable of enhancing Natsuki's fire abilities. Suddenly, someone appears unexpectedly. He loudly claims the crystal, interrupting the group's moment of triumph after defeating the monster.